Hello and welcome to another See You Next Thursday. Today, unfortunately, you've only got me and Seamus today, I'm afraid. So say hello, Seamus.
Hello,
So,
and there is nothing unfortunate about this. They've got the best member on. That's it.
yeah, that's me, but what about you? It's the unfortunate bit I was referring to. And Rob said he might be in, but he's a bit pissed, so I wouldn't be too sure. He's having to charge his phone, so yeah, we'll see if he turns up really. Because we'll just send our love to Sport Millie because he can't be with us tonight because his keyboard's died on his laptop. So he's only 85 years old, powered by Steam, but he's still got it. He's still been trying to keep it going. Bless him. But yeah, so he should hopefully be back with us next week. Anyway, so
Hopefully, get well for Billy's laptop.
yeah, we're all set. Prayers for it, please. Anybody out there? Not.
Yeah, maybe people can start sending him some postcards.
Yeah.
Get well soon postcards.
Oh, he'd love that, wouldn't he? Get well soon cards. He'd love that on the site. Would should do that. Actually, I should have sent him one. Anyway, should we start anyway properly? Well, I mean the first story. I think it can only be this new audio file, can't it? From it had to be Sergio Ramos, didn't it? Of all people, the guy is so up his own ass. He actually genuinely believes he's world class and the greatest defender in the world. But yeah, that's one thing. To go to the president of the Spanish FA, Luis Rubiales, and ask him to use his connections to help him win the Ballon d'Or in 2020. I mean, God, that is just embarrassing, isn't it?
Yeah, and of all the years, 2020, when
Yeah.
there was a standout candidate who had done the treble.
Well, it had to be Lewandowski had to win it, and they even cancelled it just so it wouldn't have to go to someone other than Messi and Ronaldo, I think. Because let's face it, that's all they want to ever do is give it to Messi or Ronaldo.
2020 was the year when Real Madrid didn't win the Champions League.
No,
They didn't even make that last four.
they were doing really
And
bad in the
football.
league until the pandemic shut down the league, and then they came back and they went on a winning run, and that's what he's referring to when he talks about it in the summer. He said to Rubiales, "You know that I've never asked you for anything, but if I want to do it today, it's because I think this has been a special year for the performances I've delivered. I would like you to help me in whatever way you can and use your connections at UEFA linked to the Ballon d'Or. I will be grateful to you all my life, not only for me, but also because I think Spanish football deserves it very much." I'm sorry, what? How is it Spanish football? What benefit is it to Spanish football if he wins it? Could someone
I
explain
don't
that
know.
to me? I'm trying. Does he really think
Maybe
that he's
maybe
Spanish
Spain
football?
can say maybe Spain can say that they have the best player in the world.
Well, I don't
But
know.
that's about it. Saying it doesn't matter. Having the best player in the world even doesn't matter if you don't perform as a team. But I don't know.
It's just one of those pointless things, isn't it? The Ballon d'Or is just a joke. Anyway, has been for years. It's a popularity contest. That's why it just goes to Messi or Ronaldo, even when they haven't been the best player. I, let's face it. If it had been one of Messi or Ronaldo winning it again, it would never have been cancelled because of the pandemic anyway, would it? They'd have just given it, but they wouldn't. They'd have given an online ceremony or something, wouldn't they? In 2020.
Yeah, you would think so.
But because it's only Robert Lewandowski, he can be asked. You know what I mean? It's just not important, is it?
Yeah, and I just double checked, and Real Madrid actually went out in the round of 16 in 2020 from the Champions League. It's supposed to be the holy grail and everything. He performed well. He helped them win the league, but he wasn't even the best defender that they have. It's not like after let's say he scored the winner in the Champions League final, which he has,
It's,
or he
it's,
has done the double or whatever.
yeah, it's just a really weird. It was. It's, I don't understand what he was thinking, to be honest. Has he at any point in his career ever looked like being the best player in the world? No. Has he at any point in his career even looked like being the best defender in the world? No. He wasn't even close to being Van Dijk that year.
No, he's a very good player that plays in defense. That's his issue. I think
But
he's not a defender that plays in defense. He's a good
yeah,
player that plays in defense.
it's not.
Those are two different things.
And he's a complete bellend anyway. So, let's be honest. You don't really want him to win anything, do you?
And to be honest, you don't even want him in your side because you don't know what
No.
he's gonna do.
Oh, he's too
He can
rash.
pop up with a he can pop up with a match-winning goal from a corner or something, and he's just as likely to get himself sent off.
Yeah,
But doing
in
something,
the first minute and cost you the game. That's the thing with him, isn't it?
yep.
I'm not a fan at all. I think he's got the potential to be good, but I just think his attitude sucks and it ruins any chance of him being a great defender. It's not got the intelligence for it, but that is embarrassing. I mean, do you know, I'm just really gutted that there wasn't a Ballon d'Or that year, so we could have found out how much power this Rubiales has.
Yeah, you would think he has significant powers considering that La Liga just basically dominated the whole thing, whole Ballon d'Or for God knows how many years now. Was it like from 2009 onwards they were the winner until 2021 or 2022 maybe? Who won it last year? Was it friggin' Messi again?
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, well, this shows how reputed the whole award is now. Two guys doing a podcast on football can't even, off the top of our head, produce the name of the winner.
Yeah, I know. But, that's...
Oh yeah, it was Messi because
It would
he
be.
won the fucking Copa America.
Oh, yes, that's right. You're right.
Oh, he didn't win. He didn't win anything with Barcelona. It was
Yeah,
the
that's
Copa America
right.
because I'm sure Atletico won the league and Chelsea won the Champions League. Yeah, these awards are quite weird.
The Ballon d'Or just isn't... It's just not a worthwhile...
Yeah, and I think not having a set category is quite.
Yeah, because
Quite
it
nice.
almost always goes to a
Yeah.
forward. Rarely goes to...
No, I don't think it goes to a forward. It goes to one of Messi or Ronaldo based on
Yeah.
whatever they want to do.
Yeah,
And when
who's
when
the
they
most
decide on
popular
who
that year.
wins, and when they decide who is gonna win, they create a narrative. Oh, it's because they won this, or it's because they scored this many goals or whatever else.
Yeah, it's not a true sign of how good a player is at all. Even, I mean, those two have been the best in the world, but there's been plenty of times where they, for a long period, but there's been plenty of times when they shouldn't have won the award. There's been a few times when people like Iniesta and
Wesley Sneijder. I still think Wesley Sneijder should have won it in 2010. He was the talisman for a treble-winning Inter, and then he won to the World Cup final.
oh yes, of course, yes, I remember when it was. Yes, you're right.
And the winner wasn't even a guy who reached the final of the World Cup that year. If it was, let's say, an Iniesta who won it, you can say, okay, fair enough. Barca had a good year. He was very vital for them.
And
He was
Iniesta's
very
so
good. Yeah.
good, yeah, and he should have. How he's
No.
not won one? I mean, that's criminal that he's not won it. Because to me, he was more important to Barcelona's success than anybody in that team, and I include Messi in that. While he was there, I think he was the most important player in their team by far.
And I think you used the correct term, important player. Not necessarily the best player, but important player.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to be the same thing always.
he's not far off being the best player. He's not far off, is he?
He was
One
good.
hell of a player. Loved him. Well, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I wish we'd known. That's all I want to know is, I wish we'd known whether they would have given it to him or not, or whether Lewandowski would have got it, as everyone thought he would. Though, of course, if it went to a defender, surely it'd have had to have gone to. Surely it can't have gone to Ramos. He wasn't even the best defender that year, or close to it.
Well, the guy who actually won the Best Defenders award from UEFA was Joshua Kimmich.
But it doesn't really matter who wins the best defender, because half the time they don't even have, whatever the best, whatever
No,
it is,
but
doesn't
my
even
point
make
is,
the UEFA team of the year. Do you remember, isn't that this year? Where the guy who was the best midfield was voted the best midfielder, didn't make the team of the year. Was that it? Am I correct? Am I still getting mixed up with something
something
else?
similar happened. Someone
Yeah,
won the award but didn't make the team.
yeah. And it was someone stupid anyway that shouldn't have been anywhere near it. Or someone like a Phil Foden or something. And like, when there's Kevin De Bruyne there, who's clearly better. Anyway, yes, we'll move on, because while we're on the subject of corruption in football, we should move on to Paris Saint-Germain's president Nasser Al-Khelaifi, who obviously has been cleared of corruption by a Swiss appeals court. I don't know how, because they've even admitted he did what he did. They've said he did what he did, and him and Valker are being cleared of that, because they just said, yeah, but they would have paid they would have paid the most money anyway, because they paid that much, regardless of how much they induced him and bribed him and, given him the free holiday, basically. But that was their reasoning for not. I don't get it. Because they said it did not adversely affect FIFA financially. There was no better deal on offer than the one from beIN. Was basically a reason why it wasn't classed as corruption.
Oh,
So he did
you're
bribe
just trying.
him.
No, you're just trying to. You're just trying to splatter mud all over his name. He's clean as. Come on.
Yeah.
He even has the records to show it. Even the
Yes.
code of law has said he's clean.
Yes, very clean. Of course he is, yeah. But considering they actually said, but they did, they said, the court said that Valker had received undue advantages from Al-Khelaifi, but the court decided it did not adversely affect FIFA financially, as there was no better deal on offer than the one from beIN. That was no one. They said he got undue advantage. In other words, he'd been bribed, but it wouldn't have mattered. That's, so they did actually say he was bribed and it was corruption, but we're going to we're going to acquit him anyway. It's ridiculous. How does that work? I mean, Valker's already on a 10-year ban from football, and he was found guilty of accepting bribes and forging documents in the case of Italian and Greek media rights. I'd just like to point out, Valker was, which obviously was nothing to do with Al-Khelaifi, because beIN don't do that. You still there, Seamus?
Yeah, I am. I'm just trying to digress the whole thing.
You're just quiet.
How
Worrying
can?
me.
No, that's just me because I am very, very good listener and everything. See,
Yeah.
it just proves that the noises that come, they don't come from me.
It's Billy normally, I reckon, and Bazza was bad when he was
And
on.
his son, yeah, Billy and his son.
But yeah, it's because he doesn't use headphones, so you get all the background noise. I don't know why Bazza doesn't use headphones. Maybe he hasn't got.
Maybe it's too complex for him.
Yeah, bless him. I mean, I miss him. I miss his dear Seamus. series, though. It's a shame. He just started that and he's gone.
No, but it's like no, come on. It's like saying you miss freaks and geeks. It's like just one and done thing. So no
Well,
point.
yeah, but he had a load more planned, you see. That was the thing, and I've seen them, so I was waiting for it, like. Anyway, shall we move on to another thing involving being sports while we're about it? Because they're obviously, well, I say obviously, if, for me, I've been covering this, so the last year or so, they've been in a fight with Serie A because they fell out with their chief executive, Luigi Di Silvio, over he took the Italian Supercoppa to Saudi Arabia in the middle of when beIN Sports and Sky and all that were in an argument with Saudi Arabia over their they were supporting that BLQ, the pirate station, TV station. You know that one? Do you remember that case? It was streaming putting all the football out for free, basically, against, so all the right holders, the people who paid money were basically losing a lot of money, like, because they were putting it out for free, and it was backed by Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia and Qatar at the time were in the middle of a almost on the verge of open warfare at the time, and that, like, so then they took obviously beIN Sport, for those who don't know, is owned by Qatar. The state of Qatar, Nasser Al Khelaïfi being being in charge of that as well as Paris Saint-Germain and the ECA, and on the executive committee of UEFA. But yeah, anyway, so they took the Supercoppa to play in Saudi Arabia, and beIN Sports were like furious, obviously, and cancelled their deal, which is over £100 million a year to the Serie A clubs. So all these clubs have lost £100 million over the last year because of it. Just lost it. It's gone. Now AS Roma went because the Dan Friedkin of AS Roma has got really friendly with Al Khelaïfi in recent months. So he spoke to him basically and managed to get him back to the negotiating table. He got beIN Sport back to the negotiating table, but it was with the clubs themselves, the Serie A. They cut out Luigi Di Silvio and the Serie A itself and just got them to the negotiating table with the clubs and got a deal made. Well, rather than just thinking, well, thank God for that, we've got a broadcast deal back on the table and we get that extra money coming in. That Luigi Di Silvio's gone absolutely up the wall about it and written to Roma to tell them they've got no right to do this deal and basically it's not going to happen now. So, I mean, that's a lot of money to lose, isn't it?
Yeah, especially when you consider how much money teams in England make from just the TV deal.
Yeah, they're just falling further and further behind. They're not going to be able to compete, they're already behind the Spanish on money and the English. They're going to end up behind the German,
everybody.
Dutch, they'll be like the Scottish League soon if they're not careful.
Yeah, and just as you said it, I noticed, I don't think there is a big TV deal for Serie A in the Indian subcontinent either. Well,
No.
at least there isn't in India, I'm pretty sure.
No, because it's the beIN one that was Middle Eastern near, Asia, whatever it's called, MENA region, and Asia as well. MENA and Asia. That's what I was trying to think. That was the deal that's gone. So you've got nowhere in Asia, nowhere in the Middle East, and nowhere in North Africa can see it, which is going to ruin their chances of bringing in new fans from those countries as well. Because if the kids can't watch
because I remember there was no Serie A football last season.
Yeah.
Over here.
Yeah, if you can't watch it, how do you get a team? How do you develop an affection for the team?
Yeah, it's a multitude of things. You get direct money from the TV rights, and like you said, you also can grow the whole brand, whole club through the exposure you get there. I'm pretty sure, like if there was, let's say, in another world, there was no Premier League TV deal over here 10, 15 years ago, then I wouldn't be here right now talking football.
That's a good point. See, yeah, you've got, people. It's not just you. It's a lot of people wouldn't be on the sites because they
Yeah, no,
wouldn't
no,
know
I'm
about
just
it.
saying, like, yeah, I'm
So,
just saying, I'm using myself as an example.
yeah, yeah,
Why is Premier
lowest
League the
possible denominator.
biggest money making league? Because it's shown all over the world.
Hmm. But while we're on this subject, it's interesting that just because it's related for a good reason, I'll explain in a second. Because the former Italian international Damiano Tomasi is the new mayor of Verona. Now they normally really far right. It's always a right wing thing. They're very Mussolini, should we say? And they beat out the Brothers of Italy, far right brothers. They're a far right group, like very much, fanboys of Mussolini and that, like. So and he's a centrist, centre-left sort of candidate, which is really unusual for them to win. But the reason why I say that is he's only gone into the politics of this because he couldn't get involved in the Italian Football Federation, the FIGC, or Serie A because he lost elections. I'm pretty sure one of them was when Luigi Di Silvio got in. So it could have been a totally different thing because he wouldn't have allowed it. He wouldn't have allowed the beIN Sports deal to crash. That's for sure. Because he would have understood how important it is. And you've gone quiet
Sorry,
again.
I got sidetracked.
Oh, I was waiting for you to reply then. I like him.
Oh no, no, I was actually double checking myself, and I think there is some sort of deal for Serie A over in India,
Oh, is
but
there?
it's not with the biggest. Yeah, but it's not with the biggest television channel. So is it really? You need to be making huge amount of money as well with it, right?
What
I can
about?
just say that it's a lot less than what it was before.
It's the TV deal that's turned the Premier League into the biggest league in the world. It's not an else. It's the
Yeah, that
TV.
is
It's
yeah
the TV that's done
yeah
it.
that is how it's the richest league.
Hmm. Yeah, because everyone wants to see it because it's on TV everywhere. And until
And
you.
it's readily available. It's
Hmm.
readily available as well.
But it has been for a long time, and you don't have any gaps like this. Yeah, Syria shot itself in the foot, and it's not going to get any better unless they sort it out. And they're having financial problems there as well. Loads of them are struggling. Ah, it's just it's astonishing that
And
like
lots of teams have like shared stadiums, the old
yeah
ones as well.
yeah exactly.
Like
And a lot of them are trying to
I'm sure, yeah,
re
they're trying to get themselves a different stadium, a new one, and things like that. And a lot of them are struggling to get in line with the new financial structure there as well.
mm, yeah, because Milan and Inter are both trying to get out of the San Siro and build their own stadium because they don't enjoy the shared stadium thing. Doesn't work for them. They don't like it. The fans hate it because it doesn't feel like it's theirs, and they can't make money from concerts and stuff when they on the weeks off. And the stadium, the stadium, the grass can't cope with other things because it needs to be resting. So yeah, so they've got no time in between games either to hold anything, even if they wanted to, because they've got two teams. Yeah. Anyway, shall we move on? While we're speaking of AC Milan, because
Yeah,
they're about to be sold. I'm sure we've mentioned it before. After they won Serie A last season, and then announced they're about to be sold to Redbird who are part of the, part owners of FSG, who own Liverpool, and somebody, I've forgotten who else. Is it,
Toulouse.
Toulouse, that's
Toulouse
it.
FC.
Yeah, Toulouse. They also own. Yeah, correct. Anyway, yeah, they agreed a deal with Elliott Investment Management, the hedge fund that owns most of AC Milan, to buy it off them. But one of the minority owners now, they own around 4.3% of the club. They've taken it to court to stop it. They're blocking the sale and trying to block the sale in the US because they're saying they weren't involved in the negotiations, which has breached their rights as minority investors, and saying that Elliott operated with malice and deceit, and released confidential information without approval and failed to hold a proper bidding process. It's quite interesting because didn't Ed too say they were, these things are vultures? Elliott were a vulture in the first place when they got in there.
I'm pretty sure he said something along those lines.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't have good reviews about them.
No,
That's
he
for
didn't.
sure.
But then, investment company, hedge funds.
Yeah, but they're investment hedge funds. They're
Then-
supposed to be
Yeah,
a bit
they're not,
shady and a bit dodgy.
yeah, they're not someone you want around your club, basically. But they've invested, that's for sure. Because that's AC Milan won because they spent the most money over the last 5 years in Serie A. So,
Really, did they? And I'm saying it because in Serie A teams sign players now and then pay the money 3, 4, 5, 6 years later because it's, I don't know how, but they always manage to do this 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, or however
Yeah.
many year loan. Like Chiesa has been a Juventus player for 2 years, but he's just now signed for them.
yeah, there's some bizarre ones, isn't there? They do have
Why?
like
Why?
2-year
Why do
loans.
teams allow it, man? Come on, I don't
know.
understand.
The way Italian football's so corrupt, there's so much dodgy dealing going on. It's really odd. I just, you just see there's so many deals going on. You think, what the hell's going on there? Well, I mean, wow. Inter Milan
Yeah, you say
signing Lukaku's an odd one. How can how can they pay 7 odd million for a loan?
Yeah, but with them you can at least say they're still pulling down the pants.
Yeah.
Chelsea's pants.
Did you see they said he was the best striker in the world? Someone from Inter Milan said. I was like, they've signed the best striker in the world. They said, and I was like thinking, what? When did they sign Robert Lewandowski?
But I think maybe.
And then I saw.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's confused with the initials. He
I
saw
know.
RL and he thought it was Robert Lewandowski.
Well, that's what I thought, because I just saw the headline, this guy from, I can't remember who it was, he's some Inter legend, anyway, it said, we've signed the best striker in the world, and I'm like, shit, when did they jump in for Lewandowski? I didn't even know they were in the running for him. I was thinking, Christ, him alongside Lukaku could be quite perfect, because nobody's going to be, Lukaku will have loads of space with Lewandowski there, and that I was thinking. And I had to look at the thing, and it was like they were talking about Lukaku. I was like thinking, wouldn't even put him in the top 10, personally, but there you go. I'm not even sure I'd have him in the
Speaking
top
of
10.
top 10s, speaking of guys who wouldn't make the top 10, I think we have Rob.
Is Rob on? Oh, hey. It's time to go then. We're finished now then. If Rob's here, we're finished now then. That's it. Bye bye, we've done. How pissed are you?
Yeah.
On a
pretty,
scale of 1
pretty,
to 10.
Yeah, about an 8. About an 8, I reckon. But I'm good. I'm focused. I've had a long week at work. I'm ready for some soccer talk, some football talk.
Oh well, we're going to talk about.
Wait. Do you refer to football as footballers?
Look, in
soccer.
this country, because we have AFL football, we call that football, and soccer is referred, or football, as you'd know it, is referred to as soccer.
So Tris is right. Australia is just a different name for America.
Yeah,
Mate,
so it's America in
we
training.
are just America on our L plates. Yeah.
Yeah, they're in training.
It's
One day.
America Light. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's America Light.
They've got the arrogance sorted. It's just well, actually I'm not sure what they're missing.
How is a sport?
Not
How
enough
is a
gun
sport
crime,
that is
maybe?
mostly about running with the ball in your hand called football instead of a game that is just about kicking the ball with your foot?
Yeah, it's one of those
You
things.
know what, Deep? Because that's a very good question that I'm sure a lot of people would want to know the answer for, including myself. But I don't think it's something we're going to find out for some quite time. So, in the meantime, when I say soccer, I apologise to anyone who is offended by the term soccer, and I really do mean football. But like I said, in this country, it's very hard because if someone says to you, "Did you watch the football last night?" they're going to ask you, did you watch the AFL game last night? So it is very different. And we are like America on our L plates.
Yeah, I don't get this thing about soccer being offensive. I really don't understand it. It's an English word. It was because in the old, originally there was, when they were trying to differentiate, when it was very similar to how you have the AFL and in America you have the NFL, and they call them football. In the UK you had rugby football and association football, and to differentiate them there was rugger and soccer. That's what they became. So it's English. The word is English, not anywhere else. It didn't originate anywhere else. So why the English get so arsy about it, I never understand. Snobbery. That's what it is. Sorry, got on me soapbox then for nothing. I don't even know why that bothers me.
Yeah, look, you see a lot of documentaries and YouTube videos of people here talking about, if you ever go to England, if you ever go to the UK, don't ever use the term soccer. Always use the term football. So I guess it's just one of those things that's played on my mind, and subconsciously it just happens to be called soccer here.
They do get really offended, some people, and I've never understood. They get really arsy about it. I do not understand the issue. I think it's
Tris, the last thing I want to do is go to the UK one day and sit down at a pub full of Englishmen or Scotsmen or Irishmen and say to them, "Who's playing on the soccer tonight?" and get my head kicked in while I've said that.
Yeah,
so
because you're only
I really
little,
think it's time to...
something you should worry about
Yeah,
being so little. What is he, 6'10" or whatever?
I really think... I'm only about 6'3", mate. I'm not that big.
I don't know, I've seen the wedding photos you were showing. You look about 17 foot tall, because everyone else must be midgets.
Oh, I think the average height for the males down here is about 5'8". So I'm a little bit above average, but it is what it is.
Your dad looks
it's all about genetics.
Your dad's like a good foot shorter than you.
Yeah, my dad's only about 5'7", to be honest. So,
yeah.
So he's taller than Tris. He's taller than Tris.
No, I was trying to say, hey, I'm tall. They keep telling me I'm tall, so I'm going to stick with that. I'm tall, mate. I'm tall. I was on a bus the other. Did I tell you last week? I don't know if I did. I was on a bus there and I went to do my visa. Coming back from sorting out my visa, like, I get on the bus, and because the buses here, there's all different types, right? You have the jeepneys and that, but there's the other ones that, the air-conditioned ones, a bit posher. Say air-conditioned, it's still, you get in and you just pour them with sweat because it's so sweltering inside, yeah. Because they put 15 people in a little, it's basically a van, just slightly different sizes of vans, and they have so many people packed in, you're like squished in, like. But this one, I got in and I was just like sat curled over in a ball because I couldn't sit up because the ceiling was too low. And I sat there thinking, this must be what Rob has to deal with every single day of his life.
Well, I don't catch buses anymore down here, unfortunately. I just drive the same route to work every day. But yeah, you do notice when you're at work and you're doing what you do, you come across a lot of people who are shorter than you. But I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of people that I've met, and I'll tell you a quick story. Not even a story. There's a kid. So I'm a manager. I'm a department manager of a supermarket. So I manage one department of the supermarket, and there's a kid who works in a different department. He's 16 years old, and he works at the front end, which is like the service area. When you go to check out all your groceries and you're buying your stuff. And I walked past him the other day as I was going outside for a vape, and this kid towered above me.
Rob.
Towered above me.
Rob,
Yes.
do you know that we're still live?
Yeah, that's fine. This is educational. This is very educational.
Be careful.
No,
what
I'm
you say
just,
there.
no, I'm just reminding. Yeah, I'm just reminding you that.
Oh, trust me, I'm well aware. Trust me, I'm well aware. And I walked past this kid, and he towers above me, and I looked at him and I said, "Shit, you're a big boy. How tall are you?" He was 7 feet. 7 feet. I've never met
What?
anyone personally that's I've seen him on the TV. I've seen basketball and all that kind of stuff. But this kid was 7 feet, and I said to him, "How old are you?" He said, 15 years old. I almost
Bloody
fell over.
hell.
15 years old. He's a service kid, 7
Oh,
feet
right.
tall, and he towered. He made me feel like I was very short.
That reminds me, I was at the basketball last weekend here because the basketball league just started, and it's just down the road from me is the main, it's the local court, like for the local team. So I went there to watch the kick-off, but it's just to see what it's like, kick-off, whatever it's called. What do they call it in basketball? I don't know. Anyway, so I went there
Tip-off.
thinking, tip-off, yeah. Anyway, I thought these basketball players, the professional league, they're going to be, there's actually going to be tall people there. I was still the fucking tallest in there. I was like, this is ridiculous.
You should have jumped on the field.
I can't play, but I've never played it, mate. Well, probably. I did at school, but only because you had to. Never actually played it properly, so I wouldn't even know how to be honest. But I could have I suppose I could have just held it above my head and they couldn't have reached it. But yeah. Anyway, should we get back to the football?
You're breaking up a bit, mate.
Am I? Sorry, I hope you can hear me at home.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
I'll be right back. I'm just going to get one more drink. I'll be back.
Oh, hey.
One more tinny. One more can. I'll be back.
So what?
So he's getting a drink, is he? Is that what he's getting?
Yeah, he sent a picture.
Yeah, I was just a bit confused because I don't know what's going on the Discord. I'm like completely confused with what's going on now. Yeah, so there's something about wrestling on there or something. I'm really lost. Why is that bit not coming on if he's around? Useless, yeah. Anyway, so because this would be his kind of thing.
He's back.
Good timing.
Hey, he's already back.
I'm sure you've got the pictures of this anyway, Rob. But Sassuolo's Italian international midfielder, Davide Bratesi, has claimed his phone was hacked after a completely naked selfie of himself was posted to his Instagram account.
I'm just gonna be the first guy to ask. Why?
Well, that's the he said it was hacked.
Why?
But why did he have the pictures
Why
in the first place?
take a selfie here? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't get this. I don't get it. But I suppose
He's
proud of his body.
Hey.
Must be proud of his body.
Lesson number 1.
I think there's a thing called mirror as well.
Don't send naked pictures of yourself to anyone but your wife. That's lesson number 1.
No. Lesson number 1 is do not
send
or take them.
But if you do that,
you could get divorced and they'll be everywhere, mate.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can send it to your wife, but it's only good until it's your wife. As soon as she becomes your ex-wife, you're fucked.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
if you've got a good rig, like I'm sure a professional footballer would have, and you get a divorce, then look, I'm just spitballing here, but
Yeah, but it'll still end up
if
on the
that picture
sports
gets
site, mate.
released, and
Wait,
Yeah, but you got to
if
prove
I
if
don't
you've
it.
got
think
a,
she's
You
divorced.
just say your phone got
I
if
hacked.
you've
don't
got
think he's divorced. Come
if,
on.
if you've got a good rig on ya, and that picture gets released, and your wife divorces ya, and releases that picture to the public, you might get a bit of poon going your way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you wouldn't be complaining if it helped you. But if you look good in it, she's not going to be releasing it to the internet anyway, is she? So,
True. That's my point. That's
and if any of us looked that good that we
a good
thought that
point.
was a good idea, we'd have already added pictures of ourselves up everywhere.
Spot
Let's
on.
face it, we're men, they'd have just been up anyway. We wouldn't need someone to share them for us.
I don't know how there's not a picture of me floating around from about 10 years ago, mate.
Are now
Oh, here we
you've
go.
given someone a job?
Yeah, somebody will be going looking for it. Abid's already busy searching for it now as we speak.
Yeah, but Abbott's got the Abbott's got the ones that aren't as good as they were 10 years ago.
Yeah, but wait. Do you think those might be the ones that actually crashed Billy's laptop? Maybe he
Possibly,
found
could
his
be.
way around it and then.
They could have been the ones that put chips inside his keyboard. I'm just saying.
I've got to be honest, I can't imagine Billy being able to figure out how to use Tinder. It's too difficult for him. Swipe left or swipe right. Oh, I can't be doing with that.
Oh,
All these
and
newfangled
Rob did teach us that there is another super like thing when you swipe up.
Oh, when you swipe up, yeah, you get
How
one
the
super like per day.
How the fucking
That
hell
would,
do you know so much about Tinder, Seamus? Is this something
No,
you
Rob
need to tell us?
taught us.
Don't give
No,
me this
I
bullshit
don't.
about Rob telling you. You know it all.
Yeah,
Come on,
but
mate. Come on,
even
mate.
he is admitting. Even Rob is admitting that he is the one that
Yeah,
told us.
we know
It's
he's a
just that.
pervert.
It's just that I'm not as old as you and forget what everything just 1 week later. I
We,
remember those things.
no. Rob's admitted he's a pervert, but you seem to have far too much knowledge about these things. Don't be giving me you remember, because that's bullshit. You've obviously been trying it out to find out if it's right. You wouldn't just repeat it without checking, I know you.
No, you listen, you learn.
So, did you get any? Or did it work? What did you use? Did you use a picture of your house? Rather than of you to get... to attract the ladies. Look at the size of my house.
Fuck off.
Don't get
Fuck off. No mentions when we're still live on air. No mention of the house. No mention of the house when we're still live on air.
Oh.
It's for the after dark section.
Okay, mate. Well, we won't get on it. Sorry. Not for today. We'll do it later when we're finished. So we move on. The next thing in Italy, we're still in Italy at the moment, so we might as well do the TV rights. We were talking about they've lost the beIN Sports one, but their TV rights. Each club in Italy, even the top team, and the reigning champions Inter Milan got the biggest share last year with 84.2 million euros. Juventus got 77.9 million. AC Milan got 77.8 million, etc. Down to Venezia, who got the least, with just 26 million euros. Right?
well,
City,
we all know
bottom of the Premier
Inter's
League,
money.
got 105 million euros. 105 million, so 20 million more.
We all know Inter Milan's money that they got from their, the revenue that they made is all going to go towards Lukaku's salary.
Yeah,
we're all aware of that.
No, it's not going to go to us Lukaku's salary. It's going to go to us the world's best striker's salary.
yeah,
But that's quite a difference, actually.
It's a huge difference. I mean, when you
20,
consider
20,
the bottom,
20.8 million.
and then the bottom of the table getting just 26 million. How are they supposed to? How are they supposed to get anywhere near when they're buying players? They just can't compete.
The top earners and the bottom earner, if you combine those two, they got
Just
the two
about,
teams
yeah.
got almost just about the same as what Norwich would get.
Yeah, and Norwich were
That's
bottom
a
of
that's a huge difference. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were the bottom team.
Yeah, that's the prize pot for TV revenue, by the way. I'm wondering.
Well, maybe that is why Norwich always wanted to finish in the top 26.
Yeah, that's why it's enough. You get 105 million euros. That's enough, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't see
Wow.
Norwich complaining with that. To reinvest in the Canaries squad to become the yo-yo club for next season, just going up and down between Premier League and Championship.
It's not a good. It's not. I don't understand it how it can be, because you must constantly have huge turnover of players that you'd want to keep. You can't build because every time you go down, you're losing players you want to keep. And when you come up, you're having to rebuy a new squad again because you have to have different players from there. So
But sometimes I think like there should be some sort of rule that prohibits team from just coming up and down, coming up, just yo-yoing again and again.
well, they just scrap they're just less than the parachute payments and that. So it's less of an advantage.
As long as we don't see Mr. Ozan Kabak in the Premier League again, I'll be quite happy.
Oh, isn't he in talks with OGC Nice?
Yeah.
He should be going as far away from Europe as possible. I'm pretty sure that there would be a number of A-League clubs that would be willing to take him on.
Are you sure he's good enough for the A-League? I've seen him play. I'm not convinced.
Yeah, he's
Come
about
on,
a
surely
one
he
out.
can't be that bad.
Who's
He
he?
can't
be
that
Oh,
bad.
he's appalling. He's appalling, Deeps. It's one of the
He's
worst
bad,
players
Deeps.
I've ever seen in my life. I do not understand.
Okay,
Who's
from a scale of 0 to Maguire, 0 being bad and Maguire being world class, where does he stand?
0.
Sorry, Maguire being world class. You've lost me there.
No, if you use the scale that Maguire, let's say, is at
It's the best you got.
highest
And
ceiling for him.
worse. Oh,
Yeah.
he's worse than Maguire. He makes Maguire look like a world class defender. He does make him look world class. He is that bad. I can't remember the last time I saw a player that bad. Not since the Souness days, I think. Liverpool shit, I mean.
He's about as bad as a centre half in the Premier League that you can get, Deeps.
I just don't understand why Norwich brought him in as well. I mean, they must have watched him play for Liverpool, and someone kind of thought, oh, wow, what a player they've got there. They've let him go. Surely someone should have looked at that and gone, Jesus, this lad's crap. Let's leave him where he is. Let's look elsewhere. My mother's free.
Chris,
You
when
know what I mean?
You didn't have to look elsewhere. You could have just looked just to his side, who was playing with him, Nat Phillips. He was decent.
Exactly. That Phillips was. You know what? I feel sorry for him because he's proven himself to be a good Premier League player, and nobody's come in and bought him. I do not understand it. I think he's far better
he
than
would be a
people
good,
believe he is.
Yeah, he would be a good player, good buy for, let's say, before they got Aguero for a West Ham or for a Leicester.
Yeah,
Aston Villa.
Well, even if you put him in the Man United team, he'd be a step up from Maguire or the other guy whose name completely escapes me.
Lindelof.
Varane.
Varane.
Any of them. 'Cause I know people raved about. I remember all the talk on the Man United site about how he was better than Van Dijk when you were buying him, and I was like, I even said I don't know what you're seeing on it, to him, and they just laughed me off the site because I didn't think he was great.
You did. I definitely remember that. Everyone was putting the accolades of Real Madrid's, successes and trophies that they'd won, and they'd included him into that. but people fail to understand that it's actually a team sport, and it's not an individual trophy. So, for example, Hugo Lloris has won a World Cup. I know we're talking about international football here, but Hugo Lloris is a World Cup winner.
Jimmy Traore,
but if you break him down, exactly
Samuel Umtiti was the starting centre back for France when they won the World Cup.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Exactly
He's
right.
hopeless as well.
But when you've got a player who's as good as Kylian Mbappe, then what can you do? I mean, a player will go out and win all these accolades and have this decorated trophy cabinet, and all of a sudden that makes them, as a singular player, a world beater. So I can completely remember when Trish was saying that Varane wasn't very good, and I remember trying to convince my Manchester United friends who were over the moon in signing him that he wasn't any good, and then I was the one having the last laugh 6 months later when he proved to be not very good.
When he was fit. For those 2 occasions, I think he managed to stay fit. I mean, that's the other thing. He had a known injury. You know, his injury history was horrible as well. You just think he's one of those. It's just a big red flag when you look at him. You think, nah, look elsewhere. The fact that they were willing to sell him
like I've
should have
said
said
before,
it all.
like I've said before, if there is a player who has dodgy fitness issue, you don't want him to be moving to the Premier League.
No, exactly.
Because you get more games. You get almost no winter breaks.
And
You get more competitions and higher intensity and everything. Having said that, I was under the impression that Varane had finally overcome his injury issues because he had only missed 5 games for Real Madrid prior to signing for Man United.
Yeah, but
in the season prior.
Wasn't that the season that was broken up by the pandemic? So we had half a season off to recover. Like
No, not that season.
Wasn't
No,
it?
not that season. The one that was played behind closed doors the whole season.
Yes, you're right. Yeah. Sorry.
If there's one thing that I've learned in the last 3, 4, or 5 years, and I've been following the site for a long time. I'm going to be honest. I've been at least 10 years or so of my life. I've been a keen visitor on the site. But if there's one thing that I've learned in the last couple of years, especially in doing the podcast, is I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass.
Please no. Please don't.
He's got his vape belt to blow smoke.
I'm not trying to blow smoke up Trish's ass here, but
Trish, quick, define your.
I'm being totally honest, and I'm being totally serious here. Trish has an absolute fantastic outlook on football, and especially when it comes to, identifying players and how they play. So there's a lot of the times that either Liverpool are linked to players or players in the Premier League. I can only watch as much games as I can with the time difference. I struggle to watch majority of games because of how late they are on and my work commitments. I make the time to watch every single Liverpool game, which does stuff me up during the week. But there is a lot of football that I do miss, especially in the Premier League. So when I hear Trish as, Ed01 talking on the website, I take that into account because when I do eventually see it for myself, the bloke is, no one can ever be 100% right and accurate. That's just not how it is. But if there's one person that I trust more than anyone else when it comes to how a player plays, how he thinks, how everything got to do with that player, it's Trish. And whenever he speaks, I've told this to him on an occasion before. Whenever he speaks on the website or on a podcast about a player, I just sit there in awe and listen, and then I take that into account when I see that player play on the TV. And like I've said, no one's ever 100% right, but 90% of the time he'll get it right. So when Trish was saying, I'm not someone who watched the Spanish league week upon week, but when Trish told me that, for example, because we're on the topic of Varane, when Varane was, being linked heavily to Man United and they made the bid and he was coming over, and he sat there and said he's not that good at all. I was trying to tell my friends in person that, don't be surprised if he doesn't do good because from what I heard, he's not that good on a personal level. And I've seen him play enough, but probably not as much as Tris has. So when he's come in and had a season the way he has, and this is not just for Ryan, this is for multiple and many amount of players, 90% of the time it comes to fruition. So I just want to say to Tris, and all the listeners listening, and even you, Deeps, I could sit there and listen to Tris talk football all day. I've told him that before because it's brilliant. And I think that in another life, in another world, you could have been a bloody scout. You could have made it somewhere in football.
You could have been.
I could have been in this. Like,
Yeah,
I turned down a few
It's
jobs.
just that he can't bring himself to work for Man United.
And Everton.
I think if Tris was at bloody Man United as a scout, you guys wouldn't be struggling to finish inside the top 4. That's my opinion.
You wouldn't have signed Maguire on my sake, so that's for sure.
Exactly right, and that's just one. So when it comes to all I want is my point being was when it comes to players, especially players that I don't see a lot of, and I do listen to Tris on the podcast or I do read what he says on the website, I take him to very high accord because the man knows his stuff and 90% of the time he's right. So keep on doing that, Tris. I enjoy it. I'm sure a lot of the other viewers and listeners enjoy it, and you know what? Keep going, man.
I'm so red right now. If I was wearing a Liverpool
I
shirt
don't,
right
I
now,
don't
my
think I
friends
can
would
be a
vanish.
part of this conversation anymore.
Can we change the subject? Because honestly, I'm embarrassed. I've gone so red.
No, I'm being dead serious, mate. You're
you.
very good. You've got a very broad knowledge, and it's a privilege and an honour to listen and to read what you write, and I love it. So keep it up. I know I'm not just speaking for myself here. I'm speaking for a lot of people who read not just the Liverpool site. I know you might cop a bit of slag on the Chelsea sites, on the United sites, which I don't read because I don't really have much of an interest in reading the dribble they have to say, but fair play to you, mate. And I love reading what you got to say. I love listening to what you got to say. So keep it up, and when I'm rattling on a bit here, I understand that, but I'll keep it up, and this is why this is part of the reason why people tune in. Which I know we don't have millions of viewers and of listeners, but the reason why your site has been so successful for so long is because of the stuff that you post. So keep it up.
I really don't know what to say to that, but thank you, mate.
You are welcome.
Yeah, what you were saying about the slag, to be honest, I don't tend to, they more often, they ask for opinions, very rare. I think the only time I can remember recently getting slag, apart from them laughing at me for saying Varane wasn't that good, was when Mendy, it must have been the beginning of last season, I think.
Yeah.
When I put him in, I didn't put him in the top 10 of goalkeepers. When I did the top 10 of goalkeepers, I didn't put him in there, and they were like, all the Chelsea fans were saying he was the best in the world at the time. Well, most of them. Most of them were saying it anyway. Some of them were kind of like, he's okay, but I'm not sure about him yet still. And now, by the end of the season, they were all saying that we need a new keeper. It's like, well, yeah, I know. I told you that. I told you he's just a backup. You know what I mean? That's all he is. He's not.
Well,
he's not.
I think the problem today is a lot of people will sit there and I'm on Twitter and I'm on Facebook. I don't have anything else. So you have Twitter, which is like the cesspool of society. Twitter's almost like the place where it gives every idiot a voice. I know social media is that platform, but Twitter's extremely toxic, and you'll come across people that you don't even follow that will somehow include a keyword that'll pop up in your news feed, and a lot of it these days is to do with stats. And if there's one thing I learned, especially from listening to you, is stats don't mean everything. So people and pages will posting about stats and how good this player looks on stats, but then you sit there in person and watch him for 90 minutes, and you're sitting there scratching your head and you're like, what the hell is this? He may have passed the block. Jorginho is one. I very, 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 very. I remember how much. I remember you said at the time, but Jorginho is not that good. But every single goddamn Facebook page, Twitter page would be raving on about how many passes Jorginho would complete in a game, and all these stats that he had broken. but then you'd sit there and watch him in a game and you'd be like, no, what the hell is this shit? I can back pass the ball 350 times to my centre back as well to make myself look good on stats. But what does it impact you on the match? What positive, what is it doing good for you on the pitch?
There's no context to him, is what you're saying.
Exactly right. So
Well,
there's one thing that you've taught me and whoever else is listening and read is that stats don't mean everything when it comes to football.
Well, do you remember the year Leicester won the league?
Yep.
It was. And there was this argument raging, and the media were saying it was Idrissa Gueye was a better midfielder than N'Golo Kante. Do you know why they were saying it?
Yep.
Because his stats said he made more tackles than N'Golo Kante. So that meant he was a better midfielder, they were saying. That was it. That was their whole reasoning was he's better than N'Golo Kante because he makes more tackles. But he's crap. He's not half the player. He makes more tackles because he's constantly out of position and having to throw himself into challenges that he wouldn't have had to have made if he'd just been in the right place in the first time, like Kante would have been, because he would have got the right side of the player and not needed to make the challenge. He'd have just seen them out. That's the difference.
But do you think that when, and I can't speak from any sort of experience here because I've had no experience with any professional club, but do you think when it comes down to scouts and people who are employed to sign players for a specific team, that they worry too much about statistics instead of actually sitting there watching the game and seeing what the guy does right instead of watching how much stats he has at the end of the game?
Well, that has been a problem. That's why at Brentford they struggled for years to make a step up from the Championship. They couldn't get into the Premier League, no matter they were spending money, but they were only using data analysts to look at the stats. Now these aren't they aren't looking at the context around. They're just looking at pure numbers, and they found that just wasn't able to take them up to that next level. So they've gone back to using scouts. All they do now is they use the data analysts to find them the players to look at. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be. Because numbers alone isn't enough. I mean, sometimes you can watch a match and there's two players in the midfield. One's been absolutely fantastic, but you look at the stats afterwards, and the guy alongside him who's done, you've looked at it and thought, well, he's not had a very good game. He's constantly caught out of position. He's tackling from the wrong side. His passes are constantly backwards or sideways. You know what I mean? The other guy's made great passes forward and had an effect on the game. But the other guy's been top. Has got the highest rating in all these stat sites because he's just padded his stats basically. It's what they did. They have a lot of that in basketball where people pad their stats. They do things that make themselves look better than they actually are. And it's quite a common thing. Yeah, XG, M. Harris has just mentioned that on the chat on YouTube. I hate that. The XG, the expected goal. It's just nonsense.
All I know is that if I was the president or owner or someone who had some sort of power within a professional club, I would rather employ someone who knows about the game, someone like yourself, who has an eye for things that people don't see, than someone who sits there relying on statistics. Because I remember, for example, and this is just a Liverpool perspective, Martin Skirtle, in my opinion, and I've got to see Skirtle's whole career in Liverpool. I'm not that young, you know what I mean? I've got to see him a lot. And I never thought Skirtle was a really good defender because that's what he was employed to do. He was employed to be a centre half player for Liverpool. But then I have friends and people that I speak to because, football's that thing that everyone speaks to me when I'm at work, when I'm with my friends. It's that thing because that's what I could sit there talking all day about. So they'd sit there and they'd talk to me about Liverpool and they'd say, gee, that Mark Skirtle, what a player. And I'd be like, really? And they'd say, yeah, he scored 9 goals for you this season. And they'd sit there and they'd worry about a defender scoring 9 goals. But they wouldn't sit there and think, well, hang on, in the 38-game season, how many goals did it actually cost Liverpool? Just little things like that, you know what I mean? Like, Defenders are sat there. They're not there. I mean, it's a bonus if they do score, a header from a corner. If they do knock in a ball and they score an outrageous outside the shot fluky goal, cool. You take that any day. But at the end of the day, the defenders are there to keep the ball and to help obviously the keeper and keep the ball at the back of the net. So that's just one example that comes to my mind when my friends would rave to me about how good Martin Skrtel was. But I'd sit there and listen and think, no, he was. I personally don't think Martin Skrtel was that good of a player, especially as a defender, because that's what he was. But just because he scored 9 goals in a season, what about all the goals that he'd actually cost us? Or what about the goals, the things that he was at fault for that would lead to an error, to a goal against us? Just little things like that.
Yeah, it's not one of my favorite. It's not one of my favorite. I'm not a big fan of Skrtel. He's not one of my favourites, I should say. He looked like he meant business rather than he actually succeeded. I always thought he was always the weak link for me. But anyway, should we move on? Because while we talk about Liverpool, we can talk about Nottingham Forest spending the club record fee. Taiwo Awoniyi, or however it's pronounced, used to be at Liverpool. Because Liverpool getting 10% of the fee, obviously, because of a transfer clause. But the point is, how do we think he'll do at Forest? Because the only reason Liverpool never got a chance to play him was because he couldn't get him a work permit. So now, obviously, he's an international. But while we're speaking of XG and that, he's got a very bad conversion rate, apparently. He was the 3rd worst in Bundesliga. Somebody posted up about it, and his teammate, one of his Nigerian teammates, had a big rant about it because he was saying, there's 2 people above him. One of them was Robert Lewandowski, and the other one was like the 3rd highest scorer in the Bundesliga. So it's like it's the one scoring lots of goals and missing the highest percentage of chances, but it just means they're getting in a position to miss them. He's saying, how is how did this? Because his XG was really poor. Apparently, he's got the 3rd lowest ratio or something.
And if you just look at the photos that Nottingham Forest posted of Taiwo Awoniyi, however you pronounce his surname, he looks like an absolute unit. You can see his bloody six-pack through his. You can see his six-pack through his t-shirt. Never saw too much of. Never saw him at all, to be honest. I can't sit there and say never saw too much of him. But never seen him pretty much at all because he didn't really play for Liverpool. No, but I remember kind of keeping my eye on his name. Yeah, exactly right. And I remember keeping my eye on his name as he went to Germany and such. He was a little bit well talked about at Union Berlin and such. So now that he's back in the Premier League after however many years since he's left Liverpool, he's definitely one that I'll be definitely keeping my eye on next season. I don't know how much he fared in the Bundesliga. I'm not going to sit there and say I watched Union Berlin games on the weekly, but when it comes time for the Premier League, if I can catch a Nottingham Forest game, I'll definitely want to watch it, and I'll definitely want to see how he does on a personal level. But he looks quite big and strong. I think physically he could survive and do well in the Premier League. But like you just said, Tris, when it comes to conversion rates and such, there's a bit of a jump in level when it goes from the Bundesliga to the Premier League, as players like maybe Jadon Sancho or there's probably countless players have seen before. So he's definitely one for next season that I'll keep my eye on and see how he goes for myself.
Yeah, I'm quite excited to see him actually because he could be a huge success. Could be. It's one of those he's got the potential to be, but he's playing for Forest, so he's up against it because obviously you can't expect them to just come in and fly. They might do. They might be the team that surprises everyone. You never know, do you? But you'd have to say, looking at their squad, they're going to be in for a tough season. So, but they're doing the right thing. They're only buying a few. They're not getting carried away and just buying 30 players. They're being careful and they're buying. They're buying where they were weakest, which was a striker. They're being careful. So, Cooper's Seems.
Yeah, well, they've loaned in. They've loaned in. Looks like Dean Henderson from Manchester United because
Yeah.
Bryce Samba wanted to leave the moment they got promoted, which for his own reasons, whatever they may be. So, you've got Bryce Samba coming in. You've got Dean Henderson coming in, who is he's not the worst keeper. I think that's probably a bit of a step up on what they currently have. I think he's someone who's quite proven and he's done quite well in the starts that he has had, especially his loan spell at Sheffield United.
He was very good there, but it just never quite worked for him at United. Didn't he get COVID?
I don't think he can handle the pressure. I think he just gets too nervous.
I don't know.
Maybe he just needs the security of knowing that his place is secured or something like that. But right now, I don't think right now he can deal with the process of being the Man United #1 with David De Gea breathing down his neck.
But it's very
and by the way, it's quite a big decision that Awoniyi took because Union Berlin are actually in the Europa League. So he's quitting European football for a seemingly what's going to be a relegation dogfight.
But he's dreamt of playing in the Premier League. He wanted to play there for Liverpool, and that. This has obviously been. It's a big draw for him. It's a chance to prove himself and make big. It doesn't matter what he does with Union Berlin. He's still at Union Berlin.
Oh, can we stop saying? Can we stop saying Union Berlin? It's Union.
Onion.
Don't
look, onion.
Yeah, Union Berlin.
Union.
Yeah.
Well, if there's one place that he's got to show, if he has some talent, which I'm not doubting at all. Like I said, I'm not going to sit there and slate off a player or make a judgment on a player that I haven't seen. But if he's got one place to show his talent on a global stage, it's definitely the Premier League. So, if maybe I'm a few bevies down, I understand. But if I be corrected, he was cost about 17, 18 million euro or pound. So, that could be quite a hefty fee for someone like Forest. I don't know their finances, but for a team that's just been promoted, that's a little bit of money to take a bit of a shot on a player who has had a decent time, I'd say, in Germany. So he's got the opportunity now to show the UK and the Premier League what he has, and the world for that stage. So fair play to him. I hope he has a great season. I'm looking forward to what he has to show. And if I'm not mistaken with the stuff I read on Twitter and things like that Nottingham Forest is also they're out looking for a player such as Neco Williams.
Yeah, they are. They're after Neco Williams and a few because they've lost Spence, who was their right wing back, Jed Spence, because he was only on loan, and it doesn't look like he's joining permanently now. Yeah. So they need another one, and I think Neco Williams would be a great signing for them. He knows Cooper must know him from his time with the under 7, under 17, under 19s or under 17s he had him in. I can't remember, but anyway, from his time when he was at Liverpool.
Yep.
I think that'd be a good signing for them.
Well, Steve Cooper's in terms of not just players, but in terms of managers that you want to keep an eye on for next season. He's definitely another one because I've heard a lot of good things about him from yourself. Like I said, I can't say I've watched Nottingham Forest play other than the playoff final that I caught, pre-recorded on TV because I was waiting to see that. But he looks like he's done a bit of, he's worked a few wonders at that club considering the position that they were in. So.
Took over.
Winless.
To get that club promoted in, as people say, the hardest league in the world to get out of. It's going to be interesting to see. So I'll definitely be keeping my eye on Nottingham Forest, and I'm wrapped that a team like that has come back up. We've spoken about this before. We were speaking about it before they even got promoted. Who we want to see promoted. And I remember saying Nottingham Forest, obviously because of their history and such, but they're definitely a team that I'd love to keep my eye on. It's going to be an interesting season for them. The first time in the Premier League in, 25 years or so. A lot has happened since then. So with the new with Steve Cooper in charge, with Henderson coming in and a 1 year coming in, and it looks like an impending Neco Williams. They're definitely a team that I find myself interested in to see how they play, to see how they set up, and to see how they fare in the Premier League.
Yeah, they could
Yeah,
be a
but
surprise
for
package.
them, no Jimmy, no Joy.
Pardon?
Yeah, but for them, no Jimmy, no Joy. They need Garner desperately.
Who's that?
He was the Jimmy Garner. He
Oh,
was
Oh,
the
yes,
talisman.
yeah,
He was
looks
the
like
star.
the,
United player.
he wasn't really the star though. He did all right, but he started off
I
with the
know,
full start of the season.
I know, but are you aware of
do
his
need-
reputation?
yeah,
the
They do need to get somebody in that midfield without him, because he is the centrepiece of their. He is what all their attacks were built through him. So they will need someone to replace him, because they'll need someone with a range of long passes, because there's going to be times when they're
and
under
his
the
set
cosh.
pieces as well.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
they need to because
I'll be
teams
back.
that come up,
I'm just gonna
they
top
need
up
to
my
be
drink.
solid with their set pieces.
Sorry, Rob, what were you saying then?
I'll be back in a second. I'm just going to top up my drink.
Okay, mate. He's going to get going to drain the weasel or whatever.
No, but the inebriated Rob talks a lot more.
I know he doesn't. It's stopping him that's the problem when he's drunk. It's good. It's nice to hear him
It's
chat
good
for a change.
content.
Yeah. Anyway, should we move on? What about Man City with Calvin Phillips?
Calvin
Agreed to play.
Phillips.
What do you think of that one?
As being on this podcast, I
Oh.
usually feel like a sideline reporter. Someone who
Yeah.
who listens in and just offers a bit of opinion here and now. I've been doing this podcast with you guys for, I don't know, close to a year now, towards the next
Wow.
couple of months. So there's been a few times where I've been on the bevies, just enjoying, because obviously this is my weekend now. So there's been a few times I've been on the bevies, and I do find I come out of my shell a bit more than I usually do.
Yes, you do.
I'm
Good.
usually, like I said, I'm usually a bit more shy and a bit more conservative, and I'd rather listen to as I would call expert opinion than myself. But when I'm a few bevies down, I enjoy getting a bit more involved and a bit more vocal. So I hope no one minds, and I hope everyone's happy.
No, it's good. I remember the first time you came on and the trouble we had getting you to even speak at all. It was hard work.
I was
We had to
so
keep-
shy.
We had to keep prodding you to get a word out of you, and it was literally just a word, and then that was it. So-
Except when I do my review for the games.
Yeah, but that's because you were reading your script.
Because I sit there and write it for 3 hours.
No, it just proves that you are very good at following orders. That is why you're married down the crapper already.
He'll be fine in
And that's
yeah, he'll be fine in married life. He can follow
Yeah.
orders.
looks like I've got to get on the sauce every week.
Yeah. So anyway, getting back to the Man City getting, they've agreed a fee, haven't they? I don't think it's actually finished yet, has it? The Calvin Phillips.
I don't
not
think. Yeah, I
completed
think.
yet, has it?
Yeah, I think it's just still yet to be fully completed.
Do we think it's a good signing? Indifferent, bad?
I think it's a good deal for them because they didn't need someone to go straight into their first team. They needed cover, and he has excelled in Bielsa's system, so he should be okay with Pep Guardiola's demands as well.
And he's clearly
The only
coaching,
concern is
but-
that the only
And this
concern
man
with him is he's injury prone.
Sorry.
He was injury prone last season at least.
Yeah,
I don't know his
I'm
whole
assuming-
career. He had injury issues.
Yeah, he's
Is this for Calvin Phillips?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a funny one. Like Deeps has said, spends most of his most of his time in the injury table instead of on the pitch. Only really seen much of him in the last couple of years as obviously Leeds United have been in the Premier League. But even when I did see him, look, he's not a bad player. I don't think he's a bad player at all, but I don't think he's fantastic. The word is that he's a Fernandinho replacement. And Fernandinho looked like he'd been finished for about 5 years before he departed. But I don't know. I don't know if it's just a quota top-up player. I'm not too sure, to be honest, what to make of it. The one that I actually do think is a good signing and exactly what they need is Mark Cucurella instead of Calvin Phillips.
Yeah, that's a brilliant signing. But I'm not so sure about Calvin
That
Phillips.
one's not done either.
Yeah, it's not
That
done
one's
yet,
not done either.
But the
You never know. Barcelona might find some funds from somewhere and come back for him.
Yeah.
Maybe if they sell Frankie de Jong to United, they'll be able to afford him.
Yeah.
That's not
maybe
set in
that's why
stone
United,
either.
Yeah. Maybe that's why United are so desperate to buy Frankie de Jong, so they can give them the fees to take him from stop Man City getting him.
But again, we need to come back to Calvin Phillips.
Yep.
What I like about him, I've got to say, is the improvement he made was massive under Bielsa. Right? He suited the system. He played really well under Bielsa. He fitted in brilliantly. So yeah, you'd think, perhaps, very much a disciple of Bielsa, plays a similar way. He likes to coach his players. He likes them to follow his instructions, and Phillips clearly does that. So I can see the positives of it. I'm just not convinced he's that level at the moment. Yeah, but I mean, he could improve.
Yep. That's a fair assessment.
Yeah, the problem is because
What do we make of the fee?
Difficult. Well, for a player who's had that many injuries, I think it's quite a lot.
Yeah, it's a huge fee, but also we've got to take into account. I know it's easier to say from where I am, but the English quota and the UK prices being inflated. What's the fee that's being touted as 45-ish million? Is that about it?
That's a lot.
That is a lot of money. That is a lot of money to spend on someone who has spent a lot of time, especially in the last couple of seasons, on the injury table. So it's going to be interesting to see how that one pans out.
It's quite odd that City have got enough money to afford him. On top of it, they seem to be able to pull out 100-odd million transfers every season, but actually really, they've surely got to have.
No, but they do sell players.
But who?
They do sell players. It's a myth.
Yeah, but they don't. Who do they sell? Who have they sold? That's what I'm saying. That's why they're looking to sell Sterling and Ake this season. We may as well talk about Ake now while we're on it. Looks like he's going back to Chelsea, which seems a bit odd to me because he's just not very good. I mean, I'm shocked that they'd want to take him back.
No, but Chelsea need defenders. Good or bad doesn't matter. They just need numbers first and foremost.
They've got a fantastic youth academy and youth system. Just give one of them a bloody chance. I mean, surely they should have learned from the way they've let Gueye, Tomori, etc. go, and they've all gone and
Livramento, Lamptey.
Yeah.
He's in midfield, so he's not really a defender, so I'm not sure we can count him. But yeah.
I mean, that's a good segue into Chelsea's activity in the transfer window. They seem to have obviously spiked up in the last couple of days. It was obviously, going to happen with the squad and the reinforcements that they needed, especially with the outgoings and obviously the new owner that they have. But the Nathan Ake one makes no sense to me at all because there's never been one stage in his Premier League career that I've ever sat there and thought to myself, you know what, this guy's a player. Even at Bournemouth, after he'd left Chelsea or was loaned out or such like that, I never sat there and thought. I even said the same thing when Man City decided to splash the cash on him and to bring him in. I thought, geez, other than being a centre back / left back. What does he bring to the table that Man City really need? I mean, other than versatility.
Homegrown.
Yeah,
He's homegrown.
The homegrown part, I understand, but do you really sign homegrown players for the first, wouldn't say first team because he's not really a first team player, but, is he really that good? So to see him now linked to go back to Chelsea for whatever the fee being reported or whatever it is, it doesn't really make much sense. I mean, Chelsea are linked to a host of centre-backs at the moment, and in De Ligt, Koundé looks like a long-term target. Koulibaly from Napoli is being spoken about.
Yeah, and you've got players.
They
like
obviously need.
Sorry, I was going to say, you've
Sorry.
got players like Nathan Collins around. Why are you looking at Ake?
Exactly. I can't say I've seen Nathan Collins play, Tris, but if you say that there might be something there, I'll take your word for it. But if you are gonna spend some money and you do want to bring in some centre backs, they look like they need easily one or two centre backs, especially with Christensen, who I didn't rate as an outgoing and things like that. If you are going to spend some money, why are you going to spend it on a player like Nathan Ake? That's something that bemuses me, and I think would not be a good move. It doesn't really make much sense to Chelsea. And like I said, while we're on the topic of Chelsea, you've got a lot of talk of them trying to bring in two wingers. Rafinha looks like the player that they've agreed a fee with, £60 million or whatever the case is.
But that's the
Amazing.
easy thing. That's the easy part of the deal, agreeing a fee with Leeds. Rafinha seems to have his heart
Rafinha,
set
yeah.
on Barcelona.
Barcelona, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's always.
But
And
maybe-
his agent is
saying that
kind of sort of
That-
employed by Barcelona.
Yeah,
that
he is
might-
employed
that
by
might-
Barcelona. But he's also an
I don't know.
ex-Chelsea player. I'm surprised. See, I don't understand why Barcelona employ him, because he got kicked out of there for being a drunken bum who was causing problems.
Drunken bum.
Yeah, he had a drink problem.
Yeah,
Sorry.
he's employed.
I
He's
shouldn't put it
employed
like that. He was an
by them.
he had struggled with alcoholism. To be fair, I shouldn't have said it like that. That was out of order because it's a true problem. But yeah, he did. He was causing problems, and he was going out. Him and Ronaldinho together were out on the laps all the time.
Who was that?
Deco.
His agent's Deco.
Oh,
His agent's Deco. And that's
Deco,
he's the one who
as in
keeps talking about
the
Barcelona.
Deco.
Yeah, the Deco.
As in the player Deco.
Yeah, he used to play for Chelsea and
Oh,
Barcelona.
no. I didn't know he was like that.
Yeah, he's the agent for Rafinha. So I mean, he had.
And he's also the liaison. He's also some sort of liaison for Barcelona in South
Yeah.
America.
An ambassador. He's club
Oh.
ambassador in South America and stuff. So he's employed by
So-
Barcelona. So he's got a conflict of interest there already. It's ridiculous. He shouldn't be allowed to do both jobs. It's a conflict of interest. It shouldn't be allowed. Agents should
So
not
it
be
seems
allowed
like-
to be employed by a club in any. A player's agent should not be allowed to be employed by a club. That's that simple. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds pretty sensible. So it seems like Rafinha has his heart set on the Barcelona move, but with the lack of funds that they currently have, maybe it's impossible for them to match Chelsea or even Arsenal's bid. So maybe that could, this. I don't know. I'm not great on finances. I'm not anywhere near your level or Ed O2's level of understanding. But could this force Barcelona to maybe accept a bid from Manchester United for Frankie De Jong?
That's
that
not the
will then-
problem, mate. It's not Barcelona that's the issue. It's De Jong doesn't want to go to Man United. That's
So the
always
reports
the
are-
issue.
Dion doesn't want to leave Barcelona and he doesn't want to go to United.
So he'll almost be forced out.
Yeah, he's maybe in some ways we can say he's being forced out, but can you actually force the player out if he doesn't want to go?
I mean, if you accept the fee, that the paying club is offering, and you sit down and have a talk to the player and say to him, listen, we don't see you as part of the plans. We're happy to accept this other team's offer for you. wouldn't that be enough of a? I know it's his own life. He'd be settled in Barcelona. He'd probably have his own house, and he'd been there for a little bit now. But
It's his dream club as well, lest we forget.
as a player, if they sit down and they explain to you that, we're willing to accept offers for you, especially obviously Man United's the team that's showing the major interest that they really want in. As a player, I can only speak for myself. For example, if that was me and the club that I was playing for sat me down and said,
Yeah, but that
we're looking to explore the offers for you.
No, that happens a lot, mate. That happens all the time, in fact. Look at Carlos Puel. They were dad deals agreed to sell him Barcelona, and he said, no thanks, I want to stay and fight for my place, and he became a club legend, one club man.
So it's all down to
the players,
It's all down to the players.
Yeah. It's not like Juventus with Delete. Delete, how do you pronounce that one, D?
Delete.
I usually just say
yeah,
Delete.
he wants to leave. He wants to leave, but they've come out now. The AC Milan chief executive come out today and said that basically he wants out. Or yesterday it might have been actually. Probably yesterday.
Why would that be AC Milan chief? I think you mean Juventus.
Sorry, what did I say? Did I say AC Milan? Sorry, that's because I was reading a different day. Sorry, yes, so Juventus chief, because we were talking about Juventus, so I don't even know why I said that. He's got one in out, so they didn't want to sell him, but they'll look for someone to buy him. But when a player wants to stay, it's the players have the power, is what I'm trying to say. A player wants out, they have to sell. Player wants to stay, it's almost impossible to force him out, mate. It's really difficult.
Yeah. So what you're practically saying is, even if United agree the fee and Barca are happy to sell Frankie de Jong for 80 million euro, for example, and receive some money so they can spend that cash elsewhere. If Frankie de Jong sat Barca down and said to him, no, I really don't want to go there, I'd rather stay here, he doesn't leave at all.
Yeah, well, I mean, thing is, you might convince him to go. You might convince him to go. It's up to, but like, if he wants to stay, what can you do? A player he's got a contract. You can't really force him. You can't force him out. You just have to. You can try and offer. The team that's buying him might offer him a sweetener in the deal, and you can offer him a sweetener in the deal as well to go. But you can't really force them to go, because that happens a lot. There's lots of players that that stay at clubs. I mean, Barcelona have already lost deals. They've been trying to offload players left, right, and centre, and Real Madrid the same. And there's quite a few deals that have fallen through because the players just said, "Nah, I don't want to leave. Thanks. I'm happy taking my big wages here. I don't want to go to somewhere else and play for less." It's that simple.
Yeah.
So. And even if they go, in the case of one of the players, I think it was Real Madrid's reserve keeper turned down a move because he'd rather sit on the bench at Real Madrid than go somewhere and have to wait, for less.
Yeah.
I think it might be Andre Lunin you're referring to.
No.
He turned down a permanent move to Marseille just recently.
He did turn. That was another one. It wasn't him. It was someone I didn't recognise the name, so. He was a reserve keeper. He might have even been reserve. You know what I mean? In Castilla or someone like that. It was because it wasn't a name I recognised, to be honest. Anyway, yeah. So I know Lunin. I quite like him. But yeah.
So on the topic of Chelsea, with their obviously being active in the transfer window, what do we think of Sterling's impending move to Chelsea? I know we spoke about him briefly last week before I fell asleep, but I know we spoke about him before.
Yeah, that's true. Last week there was the.
So I haven't gone back and listened to that podcast. I won't because of that. Because I was severely embarrassed by that. But in terms of Sterling's impending move to Chelsea, what do we think of that? Personally, as myself, I just think I don't really understand it that much. I know they want a wide player. seen well and truly enough of Sterling to completely agree with you on his striking of the ball. He does definitely offer something with his good movement, but I don't think he's at that level. You know, I don't see the sense in Sterling moving to Chelsea. What's your guys' thoughts on that?
I can see it from his point of view, because him and
Yeah.
Pep clearly don't see eye to eye. It's home for him. He's from London, so I can see that. But I don't see it as on the pitch side of it. I do not see what he offers Chelsea anything that they haven't already got. A winger who misses a lot of chances. They've already got plenty of them. I don't really see the sense of it. Again, it just seems like they're just trying to buy homegrown players rather than, you know, rather than buying players that fit their system. And but is this Tuchel picking the players, or is this above him choosing the players? Because if it's Tuchel picking them, I wouldn't be surprised. If it's Tuchel picking, you know, that's then, you know, he falls on his, you know, it's his choice, and that's fine. But if it's
So I
somebody
think
above
it
him,
might be Tuchel.
yeah,
Sterling might be Tuchel's choice.
yeah, I think they probably are. But what I'm saying is, if it's Tuchel, that's fine. There's not an issue. And if he goes, and then there won't be no, you know, the recruitment will improve when he's gone. But if it's not Tuchel picking them and somebody else is picking these players, you'd have to question, well, why has the recruitment at Chelsea been so bad in recent years? Because it has been bad, and this just seems to be continuing. I mean, this season, it doesn't look like they've improved on the previous years, where they've gone so far downhill from the Jose Mourinho days, where they were buying players who absolutely fitted the way he wanted to play, and they were perfect for his system. They might not have been the greatest players in the world. Some of them were great players, don't get me wrong, Essien and that, but they were absolutely perfect for what he wanted to do with them. And that just doesn't seem to be happening anymore. They just seem to be buying players and not actually looking at whether they're the right players for what they need, and that worries me. Not as an opposing fan, it's a good thing. But as a Chelsea fan, I'd be worried about this.
If I throw you that question for the centre back, the centre half situation, if you were, I know they're looking probably to bring in more than one, including RK and such, but if I was to throw you the question of De Ligt, Koulibaly or Jules Koundé, what do you think for Chelsea would be the best signing there?
Chris is gonna say Koundé.
Yeah, but he's out injured at the moment, so I can't remember. I think the injury wasn't that serious, though, was it? If I remember rightly. So yeah, I'd have to say Koundé had them, but Koulibaly I'm not a big fan of. Not at all. He's just he's very good physically, but he's getting on a bit, and that'll be fading. I just don't see the sense because he's not the best positionally. He can be a bit rash. He rushes around, throws himself in, and it's all very well, but the timing only needs to be a tiniest bit off, and that's it. It's basically once that goes, he's finished, because that's what he relies on, his timing of the challenge, and that's not ideal for a guy. Once you get an over, he'll finish, his career will finish early. He won't have much longer left. That's what I'm saying. One bad injury, or just. The timing will go, because it will. It does. When you get older, you slow down, your reaction's slow, and that's it, you're gone. And he'll be finished quite soon, so I wouldn't touch him with a barge pole. Who was the other one? De Ligt. I'm not keen on De Ligt at all. He's a midfielder playing in defence for me. If you were putting him in a Man City side, I could see the sense in it. I wouldn't be surprised if he's the next signing for Man City, to be honest.
Really?
But I can't see him in Chelsea though, because they just don't play that way. Under Tuchel, they're too defensive. He needs to be on the ball constantly, and Tuchel doesn't play. No, he doesn't play possession football that much, does he? It's more defend deep, hold on, really, a lot of the time. No, that's why Koundé would be the one I'd go for out of those three. I think there's better options. I mean, I think the one we were going to get to in a bit, Newcastle signing Sven Botman from Lyon. I would have said would be a better choice.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not than Delict, or I'm saying as an option to up against Kunde. I mean, you know what I mean? Rather than Koulibaly or Delict, because I don't see either of them as options for Chelsea. To be honest, they don't suit the way they play. Whereas Sven Botman, I think might do all right there. I think is he the best defender in the world? No. But how many great defenders are there in the game at the moment? Very few. I can only think of Ruben Diaz and Van Dijk who actually can defend of defenders. When you look at
Aymeric Laporte.
yes, when he's on form, he's brilliant as well.
Yeah, or when he's fit.
Yeah, when he's fit and on
He's
form,
fit.
yeah, he's fantastic. But unfortunately, he's struggled to perform because of fitness. So hopefully he'll be. Well, no, say hopefully. Why am I saying hopefully? Because he's playing for City. I don't want him back to his best, but you know what I mean. For his sake, I hope he's back to his best. You know what I mean? Because it's a shame to see a great player struggle. He's him and Diaz are probably.
Skriniar.
Skriniar, yes.
Skriniar is a good defender.
Yeah,
he's a very good defender.
Defender, yes.
And
Well,
Bastoni as well. I like Bastoni very much as well.
Bastoni. Inter Milan?
Yeah, Inter Milan.
Yes,
Left side
very
centre
good.
back.
Yes, very good. See, these are the ones they should be looked at. Skriniar is available. He's going to PSG.
He's
Why
at least
Chelsea
throw your
in
name
for
in
him?
the hat.
Yeah, Chelsea should have been in for him immediately that they found out he's available. They should have been on the phone to Inter saying, well, how much do you want for him? Shouldn't have been a question of looking at Ake. He's shit. Go and buy a proper defender. He's really good. I really like Skriniar. I'd definitely go for him.
Isn't he going to PSG?
Looks like it. Yeah, he's on the verge of it. Be a good signing for
Yeah,
them.
but nobody is competing with him. You never know if he had other options what he would choose.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, especially when it's a team in a league that actually provides competition, rather than going to PSG where you're the only team in it. That can often be a
Farmers League.
Yeah, a lot of people want to. Well, I think that's a bit harsh. There is some. I mean, they've had 3 different winners in the last few seasons, so it's probably a bit harsh to suggest it's a Farmers League and there's only one team in it. That might seem harsh.
And they produce a ton of talents as well.
Yeah, but it is.
It's funny,
really
good players.
It's only
because
when
you've got a
PSG's
team
flop that somebody else wins it, really, rather than it's because they're that good. If you see what I mean.
Correct. You've got a team that's probably got so much more resources and money than any other team in that certain league. But like you said, there's been 3 winners in the last couple of years where it's like, how do you not win that league when you're far superior?
Hang on. How do you figure that out? 3 winners in the last couple of years. You do realise couple means 2, don't you? Did they share a trophy?
Chris, I'm at that stage of the night where nothing really makes sense, you know?
3 winners in 2 years. That'd take some doing.
To me.
You know what I'm trying to say.
Now that would be a really competitive league. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I just couldn't resist a pop.
No, that's all right.
Yeah. But yeah,
I'm
it's
just
not
saying,
league.
Yeah, if you have a team that is, like I just said, so far superior in terms of resources, money, attraction, how do you not win the league compared to all the rest of the teams?
Well, I told you about. I don't know if you remember. It might have been before you were on the pod. Things were so bad in France at one point, just before OGC Nice won it. It was a season before that. PSG was so far ahead of everyone at this point. But I mean, you've had Monaco, and that came into. It was just before Monaco actually won it, I think. Actually thinking about it, not Nice. Yeah. So they were actually considering being sportsmen. Not being sportsmen. Khalifi and the Qataris were actually considering ways to pump money into other teams in the league. to raise their level to compete with PSG. Yeah, to put more money, spread it more, spread money throughout the rest of the league to raise the level up. So, that's how bad it was at one point. But it seems to have, since then, it seems to have changed. See, the problem is when it's so easy, and it is easy for PSG, week in, week out, it's so easy. I just think they've lost their, they lose the, that desire just goes because it's a stroll in the park for them on the pitch most of the time. And sometimes they throw the games away. I noticed they said, somebody said, Mbappe had a bit of a dig at, I think it was Mbappe, if I remember rightly, had a bit of a dig at Pochettino. I'm sure it was Mbappe. And he said they'd lost their intensity over the last couple of years, which is the time Pochettino had been in charge. They'd lost it, they'd stopped going at teams and taking the game to teams and that. But it must be difficult to maintain that intensity if you haven't got someone like a Pep Guardiola or a Klopp who are obsessive and all about the intensity and and are on you all the time. It must be really difficult for players, especially when you got knobheads like Neymar, who were too busy swanning off to play, swanning off at holidays and stuff mid-season. It must be ridiculous. Which is another point. That's another one that the Chelsea are linked with.
Neymar.
Yeah, because Barca can't afford him, even though they desperately would love him back for some reason. I don't understand why. And he's desperate to go back there. But, yeah, Neymar, PSG are desperate to get rid of him, and nobody wants him. Unsurprisingly, like.
Wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole.
No, I can't understand why anyone would want him, but yeah, it's a bizarre one, isn't it? How do you go from being him to, being £200 million player to being unwanted in a couple of seasons, basically? 3 seasons is it he's been there for?
4, I think.
He did it to himself.
Yeah, but just that's some fall. Which kind of brings us to Gareth Bale, I think, going to Los Angeles. While we're on about falls, the Real Madrid fans are just delighted to get rid of him. £600,000 a week to play golf. I mean, that's not bad, is it?
I'd take that any day.
I wouldn't. They'd have to pay me £600,000 to play golf, to be fair. That's just because I hate golf. But it's just bizarre how he's got away with it for so long. Yeah, the Real Madrid fans detest him. They're so glad to get rid of him. They loved him at first, but he soon made himself unpopular. But he's off to the thing is, he chose Los Angeles FC over Cardiff City, right? So he said he wanted to go where it was competitive and where he'd play regularly, so he'd be ready for Wales. But yeah, he's chosen Los Angeles FC in the MLS, which shows he's not bothered about the competitive games. He's just bothered about getting a bit of sun, getting a few rounds of golf in, and earning a bit more. Because I know they say it was put out that he's only on around £25,000 a week only, if only. Yeah, he's only he's got to only. I'm going to put that in whatever parentheses. That he's only getting 25,000 because he's not taking a designated player spot. But when you consider Cardiff City are in real financial difficulty and probably couldn't have afforded to pay him that much, it does actually suggest that he's not money is an issue still. Don't you think? Or am I wrong?
He just looks like. No, you're spot on. He just looks like a player that just really doesn't give two shits about playing every week and being as best as he can in football. I think it's almost not long after he sealed the Madrid move on the money that they were giving him that he was happy to just live his own life and do whatever he wants. I mean, if you're on 600,000 a week, and you're contracted to that. I'm not saying can you blame him, but I mean you're living a life that not a lot of other people live. So that's just how he is as a person. I know, for example, there's a lot of other players out there that would continue to train hard, continue to really, push, but he just looks like that type of guy that doesn't give a shit, and he's much more happier, rather take the easy life, enjoy his life, play his golf, which he seems to be really passionate about, and do his own thing. So
that's why you wouldn't want him in your team, would you?
Of course, but when he was at Spurs in the early days and impressing and running down that wing, and the reason why Madrid would have bought him, you would have seen this player who's there that's hungry.
Hang on, in the early days he wasn't impressing. He was about to be booted out on loan, remember, because he'd been that bad.
He was a left back.
He was a left back and he was awful, which is strange because I don't understand why he ended up playing left back in the Premier League to begin with anyway. Because when he was spotted at Southampton, wasn't it?
Southampton.
Couldn't think who it was then. I kept thinking Brighton and I knew it wasn't them. I just couldn't get that out of my head. Yeah, he was at Southampton and I think it was Pat Jennings went along to watch him at Arsene Wenger's request. Well, no, we went along to watch Theo Walcott, it was at the time, and he was watching Theo Walcott, and he came back, went to Arsene Wenger, forget him, he's no good. But the lad on the other wing, the left winger, should sign him, and that was Gareth Bale. He was playing left wing, and somehow he ended up playing at left back, even though that was, even when he first got into the team, he was a left winger. Oh, I don't know, I don't get him. I don't.
Yeah, it's a funny story. I mean, if you look back to not even 10 years ago, less than 10 years ago, he was one of the most spoken about footballers in the world. He had everything a winger people wanted him to be. Yeah, and then you skip forward 10 years and he's on 600k a week. All he cares about is playing golf, has no regard for his own club. All he cares about is his national team and hitting the golf ball around 18 holes. It's a far cry from what I saw when he was at Spurs.
Yeah, well, he was. What was I going to say? Yeah, the problem was when he went to Real Madrid. He was the most expensive player in the world, which caused issues with Ronaldo. They weren't exactly, seeing eye to eye because Bale thought he was coming in to be the new superstar to take over from Ronaldo, and he got in there, and Ronaldo was just, was better than him, and he couldn't compare. And fans didn't love him, they didn't take to him, they loved Ronaldo. He was never a fan favourite, and that was it. He just seemed to just think, well, fuck you then, and not bother. But to be honest,
you also say, sorry.
I was going to say, the thing that annoyed me about him more than anything is, you're a professional athlete. You have to think about your sport. You have to make sacrifices to make it at the top, at elite athletic level. Whatever sport you're doing, you have to make sacrifices. You just have to be able to compete. He wouldn't do that.
Didn't you also say once that he'd been in Spain for 6 to 7 to even 8 years, and he never bothered to learn the native tongue?
His Spanish is really bad, yeah. He can't speak Spanish to any reasonable level now.
So I'm not going to take this for anyone else's experiences. I've never lived outside of the country that I was born in. But if you had lived in a foreign country for half the time that he had, wouldn't you? And that's where you're employed. That's where you're going to be. And he'd already been there for multiple years. Wouldn't you think that it'd be in your best interest, and not just yours, of everyone around you, your club, to just learn a bit of the lingo and the language to be able to communicate, not just with the media, but with your teammates, with your coach, with whoever it is?
But he never see that in Spain they have a certain lifestyle because it's hot, and it is hot in the afternoon. People sleep. They have the siesta. They sleep, midday to like 2-3 o'clock. Go for a sleep, and then you're up late at night. You go out for a meal late at night and stuff like that. So the whole team lived like that except him. He refused to live that way because he couldn't play golf at night. So during the afternoons, when everyone else is having a siesta, he's on his golf course every day, which obviously isn't ideal for, not just for the fact that it caused injury problems for him because of the constant bending over, taking. It also, the heat, the constant sun beating on you at the time. It's not a healthy way to live for a professional athlete. It's not suited to the lifestyle in Spain, really. You shouldn't be out there in that kind of heat. You should be, resting. That's why they all do it. He just never bothered. He thought he's typical. What he is, he's one of those, those when you go to Spain and you go along the coast, you'll always see there's always the English bars because the English always go there for holidays, and there's loads of them have moved out there, retired out there and that, and they still think they're in England and they still act like they're in England, and they still want to eat fish and chips every day. They don't want to eat Spanish food because it's foreign muck. And they complain about the foreigners and that, and you'll hear them, and all their talk is about these bloody these foreigners invading the UK and all this. And you're thinking, hang on a sec, lads. All these immigrants is what their main conversation is. They complain about the immigrants in the UK, and you're thinking, hang on, that's what you are in Spain, but they don't seem to actually understand it. And they don't want to adjust. It's always Union Jack shorts and stuff like that, and they don't. They don't want to fit in with Spanish. They just want to live how they want to live, and stick a middle finger up to anybody who's the Spanish want them to live like them. But that's fine when you're retired there. You do what you bloody want. That's fine. You want to live in an English community, up to you. That's your choice. But when you're a professional athlete on a team with mostly, with Spanish lads, you have to fit in to some degree at least. You have to make these sacrifices. You might have to miss a round of golf and only play one round of golf a day. Whatever. You have to think about your career over your sport. Sometimes over your bit of fun. It should come first. But he had so much money, he just stopped caring. And because the club didn't crack down.
You reckon it's money?
Yeah, the club didn't crack down. The club, Real Madrid are famous for letting their players do what they want. They really are. They're very lax with them. And that's fine when you've got some players who'll come in and they'll work hard. Much as I dislike Sergio Ramos, he'll still work hard and he'll still train hard. He'll still stay remarkably fit. You've got Cristiano Ronaldo. He's going to work his ass off, and he's going to obsess over his training. You can be as lax, so you don't need to be on their back and tell them what to do. But someone like Gareth Bale, he's an arsehole. You need to be on his back, because otherwise he just wants to swan around and sit on his ass and do nothing. Well, he doesn't want to sit on his ass, he wants to just play golf. He doesn't want to knuckle down and work on being the best. He thought he'd made it once he got there. He reached all he he's achieved all his dreams. And once he realised he was never going to be the greatest player in the world, he was never going to be as good as Ronaldo. He's never going to be a fan favourite. Like it was kind of like he just lost interest.
So all in all, with his current ability and how much football he's played over the last however many years, where he hasn't been making a lot of appearances and he has been still getting his money, and he had his loan spell for Spurs and such. How do you think his move to the MLS will pan out at LAFC?
Well, it's quite an easy league. They don't play many games. He'll love it. He'll be just on the golf course.
He'll love it.
It's such a low level of football. He'll just do a few tricks and flicks, and they'll love him. Because the thing is, he'll have Cellini there. That'll be interesting. If Cellini's taking it serious still, if he's still serious, he'll be on Bale all the time. Because he's a winner. That man is a winner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why he's still playing at 38. Or is he 38 or 36? Yeah. Something like that. Whatever he is, anyway. In his 30s, he'll be on his case. He won't let him just run around like he was able to at Real Madrid. Be quite interested to be in the dressing room if he did when Cellini gets hold of him. That's a
Deeps,
good
what do you
point.
think?
You were saying about the lingo. You live in Australia, but can barely speak English. Yeah, but Australians don't speak English, do they? So, what's the issue?
No, we speak Bogan, mate.
I don't know what you speak, but it's not friggin' English, that's for sure.
Do you remember when you first told me to jump onto the podcast and have a crack? How hesitant I was because of my accent and because of how I spoke. I thought no one would understand me at all.
Oh no, yours is easy. The worst one is Glaswegians when they're drunk. I've got family from Glasgow, and you talk, when they're drunk, oh God, it's just like, I've got no idea what you're saying. Absolutely no idea what you're saying. It doesn't matter how long you spend in their company, you never get the hang of it. It's especially when they're swearing, it's impossible. I don't know what language it is, but it's certainly not English. Anyways, we go back to the transfers and that, because we've been talking about we've just been talking about Gareth Bale. We've done the Sven Botman, but the other one I wanted to talk about has to be the Gabriel Jesus to Arsenal from City. They seem to be selling a lot of players this season, City. They seem to be offloading quite a few of their flops. Now, actually, for me, I think he's a perfect replacement with Lacazette. What's that? Lacazette got like 4-6 goals last season. Something like that. I think he'll probably struggle, but I think he'll manage that many. Maybe a couple more even. But
I've never been the biggest fan of Gabriel Jesus. I never thought he was. He's obviously playing in a very good team where he's going to win a lot of team accolades. But on a personal level, never saw anything that special. To be honest, I don't know what Arsenal's gone for him. If they want him to be that out and out striker that's going to score them 15 to 20 goals a season, I don't think he's going to be that guy.
He works hard and he's got a good touch, but do you know what he reminds me of? He's a bit like a Brazilian Shane Long for me. Really hard worker.
Yeah.
Gets himself about. He's always but he doesn't really actually have any real. There's just no real. He hasn't got it, has he? You know what I mean? He hasn't got that level. It's just hard work. You're just getting him for his graft rather than his actual ability. Even though he's got good touch in that, and he has got decent enough movement, but he should score a lot more. And he should, I don't know, he's just not got that. His play doesn't seem to quite get it, does he? He doesn't seem to quite understand what he's meant to be doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it's not like he's going to be working under, one of the greatest coaches in the Premier League at the time being. He's going to be working under one of the worst coaches in the Premier League, in my opinion. So, yeah, it's a funny move. I can't see him having a great season in terms of helping Arsenal out, punching to the top four. I think Arsenal will probably stagnate to where they are. I don't think they're going to be getting much better than what they are, but yeah, the Gabriel Jesus, you can see on paper why it makes sense, but as a player, I don't see what he does to really improve on what they already had.
No, he's just seems much of a much just Lacazette, like for like.
Lacazette was there.
I was waiting for Deeps to chime in there. He's normally got.
Don't tell me.
Where is he?
Don't tell me Deeps is falling asleep.
No, you guys know what happens when I'm so quiet.
You watching porn?
That's Rob, not me.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Hey.
So go on, get your oar in here on Gabriel Jesus, or however you pronounce it. Go on, you probably tell us we pronounce it.
Oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He's not
let me
good.
guess. Is it Onion Jesus? I don't know why.
No, I don't think it's a bad move, but I don't think it's a good move either.
Good on the cross though, and he comes to life around Easter time, I hear.
I just got that.
I'm sorry, that's so bad. That is so bad. Oh God. Well, Billy's not here for the bad jokes, so I had to put some in. I can't believe I said that. I'm sorry. I apologise to all listening. That was terrible. Apologies.
I would also laugh, but I don't know what you are actually saying. So
His name.
It's Jesus. Comes to life around Easter time. Easter was when he was supposed to have died and come back to life, mate. That's why.
okay.
And he was crucified on a cross, so that's why I said he's good on crosses. Never mind. It's no good when you have to explain a joke, is it?
Straight over his
But
head.
that is what happens when you tell a Christian joke to a non-Christian.
Yeah, exactly. It's difficult. Sorry, mate. Tailor it to your audience, and I clearly didn't tailor it to this audience. But luckily, Rob was here to laugh twice, so that'll do.
Oh, I'm the same as Deeps. I'm not a Christian, bro. I've still got that one.
Yeah, but you're in a Christian country.
You're in a
so
Christian country.
You hear it. Yeah, you hear more of it, Raz. You probably don't get all the Easter eggs and stuff thrown at you, do you? In Nepal, do you, Deeps?
No.
Right, so yeah, so apologies. You'll have to look it up, mate. That's all. Anyway, so we'll move
Yeah.
on.
Oh, come on. I know of Easter. I just don't. It just doesn't jump out to me straight away.
Right.
I'll put on about 5 kilos to be Easter, mate.
Wow. There's a lot of kilos to put on for you, isn't it? There's a lot of height to put on kilos on. You know what I mean? So you could spread it out so it doesn't look so bad. If I put on 5 kilos, it's a lot different.
Speaking of such, I'm starting my diet tomorrow since I've got married. I've been quite lazy and neglected my own.
Hang on. You mean starting your diet tomorrow? You mean the missus has started your diet has set you on a diet for tomorrow, yeah?
Well, yeah, a bit of both. I don't exactly look as good as I did at my wedding, which was about 4 months ago. So I think it's time.
Yeah, but that is how it's meant to be. It is.
That's what people say.
Your wedding day. Your wedding day is gonna be the day when you start falling down your peak.
Yeah.
It would be like this.
You don't have to wear the
20. It would be like for a footballer, you're 30, you sign a new contract, and then you get an ACL injury.
That's it.
Whoa, hang on. You're comparing getting married to getting an ACL injury. Jesus Christ, no wonder you're not married.
No, ACL injury for someone who is above 30 already.
Someone who's old and on the end of their career. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Wait until you do meet a woman. Oh, mate. Yeah, well, I'm gonna point this out. She probably won't know what an ACL injury is, knowing any chances of you finding a woman. She won't be able to speak English because otherwise she wouldn't be with you. Let's be honest. She'll have to be totally uneducated. Man, I can talk. I'm not married either. Listen. That's why I can't find one thick enough.
No, you can even find ones that don't understand English and still you're unmarried.
Yeah, well, they don't understand English. That's the problem.
Everyone warned me about getting married and getting complacent and neglecting your own level of fitness, and I was like, nah, that'll never happen to me. But I must admit, 4 months in, and I'm just working, 5-6 days a week, and I really have neglected myself. It does catch up on you. So, yeah, tomorrow is July the 1st, and I promised myself that I would start training on that day, and I even bought myself a treadmill to put in my garage at home.
You'll never use it.
It wasn't cheap either, Tris. So it's hurt my pocket a little bit. So I promised myself that I'll use it, and I'm starting tomorrow.
Yeah. We'll believe it when we see it, mate. We'll believe it when we see it. You'll use it a couple of times and then you'll get bored.
I really hope not, because it costs me an arm and a leg.
Well, how the fucking hell are you going to run without one leg? These jokes are getting worse. These jokes are getting worse. I apologise to those listening. Oh, God. I'm sorry.
In regards to if we're going to keep on the topic of transfer talk, as a Liverpool fan, you've obviously got Darwin Núñez that's been brought in, Carvalho has been brought in, and Calvin Ramsey. With those three players brought in the positions that they play, would you say that you're happy with that?
I'm fine with it. It's the people who seem to be against it seem to have a problem with it.
Fair enough. And do you see anything else happening for the rest of the window, or would you like something in a specific position for you to happen in the window that's
we
whatever?
Still need a midfielder. Still need a midfielder.
Yeah.
For me. I wouldn't. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But
can you see the club pushing for one with the time remaining, or do you think those things that where generally I say Liverpool tend to get their business done early and don't really partake in much of transfer activity towards the end of the window, or do you think they're just obviously it looks like to me the long term one they want is Bellingham, as well as probably many other clubs because he's such a good player. But for the upcoming season, with what we currently have and obviously what's been sold or loaned out, can you see the club looking to bring in another midfielder?
Yeah, well, we've definitely had conversation. We've sounded out Otavio, so I'm sure. So clearly we're still looking. Whether we'll actually go and make a bid or not, I mean, I don't know. But we're definitely looking around for one. It might be that when you spoke, when we've asked him, he's not keen on moving to us, so we've not. That's it as far as it'll go. I don't know. I only know we've sounded out. Whether he's.
I don't know.
So
I know
definitely
it's hot topic on the pages at the moment because it's being spoken about every day. But I know you're not a betting man, but if you were a betting man, would you say that Liverpool would be looking that Liverpool would sign another midfielder by the end of the window?
I mean, this is the problem. So many times we've we've been desperate to sign a type of player, and you're thinking, yeah, we'll definitely sign one, and then they just fail for some reason. Okay, obviously that was in the past before, before Klopp came in, but still, it's still, we'll try, but I'm not convinced. It'll probably. The money we have is an issue. Finding a team that's willing to sell the player that we want on the right terms is an issue. So. Yeah,
I found usually, almost like Ed O2 says a lot of the time, if the right player, I think it's Ed O2, correct me if I'm mistaken, but I think it's actually you that said it, where it's if the right player is available at the right time for the right price, they'll go for the deal. But they won't be held ransom to spend 80 mil on a player who's only worth 30 or such just to bring him in.
Yeah, they won't do that, but they will if there's a player out there that Klopp really wants, and the player really wants to join Liverpool. Then and he's what they need. What they say right now. It's a midfielder we're looking for. If Jude Bellingham, for instance, came out and said he's desperate to join Liverpool and he wants out of Borussia Dortmund, I'm sure they'd break the bank to sign him. But that's not going to happen before anybody starts getting excited. That's not happening. He's not going to. I don't think he'll move this season at all. In fact, I'm 99% certain he won't move. So I was using him as an example just to explain it. Yeah, if something like that happened, then yeah, we'll go and buy. They'll find the money. They'll loan the money, whatever. They'll take out a loan, something. They'll find a way to create the cash there to go and make a move for him. The issue is when
So-
players like Otavio that they just like, you know, he'd have him if he was the right price, rather than Jude Bellingham, where you just go and get them. You know what I mean? If they're not
Yeah.
desperate to join as well, this is the other thing. You've got to remember, Klopp's very keen on players that want to be at Liverpool. They have to
Yeah.
want to be at Liverpool. They can't just, well, no, they can't just half one. They have to really show him that they want to join. You know, he's
So
very keen on that.
how would a player, other than speaking publicly, if that's the only key factor, how would they show that they want to join Liverpool?
Well, when you negotiate with them, when you speak to them for negotiate, because
Yeah.
you know, when you're signing them, you know, if you get, they'll indicate whether they're interested in the move or not, or through their agent, or you know, there's a million different ways. Usually, it's through the agent who'll say, "Nah, he doesn't really want to join," or "Yeah, it is. If the lad wants to join you, you know what I mean? He's desperate to join you."
Yeah.
That's the usual way.
So the consensus is at the moment that obviously midfield's a priority for Liverpool to sign a player. You know, Liverpool fans who are very up to date and watch a lot of the games will see that. Especially, you know, we've had a few outgoings. I'm sad to see Minamino go because, like you, I did think that he had something to prove, and I did think that he probably needs to play a bit more than he did. So that is a sad move, but you know, I know we spent a lot of money on Nunez, and we've made a bit of money with some sales, but the general consensus is that it looks like that Bellingham is the long-term target, and I know that's not just going to be for Liverpool. There's going to be a whole host of clubs that would love for him to join them.
Actually, can I just say,
But-
while we're on the subject, while we're on the subject of transfers, I was just thinking, Xavi seems to have got a bit Klopp, you know, a bit of a leaf out of Klopp's boot. He hasn't taken Robert Lewandowski to a chip shop in Blackpool, like, or a cafe, whatever it was, like Klopp tends to do. You know what I mean? But he's in Ibiza with Robert Lewandowski in the same, just happened to be in the same restaurant today.
just
Conveniently, yeah. I mean, you know, what's the chances of the two of them, you know, considering they're in contact and that, happen to be in the same restaurant? It's pure coincidence, apparently. Yeah, all right, mate. Pure coincidence, my ass. You know, you've got his number, lad. You could have texted him and said, you know, you obviously knew you were in Ibiza at the same time. There's no coincidence about it.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, probably offered to shout him lunch and to have a chat about his future. It looks like.
Yeah. So, but anybody that's in Ibiza, you need to go to Lio, Lio. The restaurant's called. Apparently, that's the place they all go to. The footballers, apparently. Well, Xavi does, and Robert Lewandowski, anyway.
Yeah, if we've got any listeners from that area, we highly suggest that you go down to that shop and buy yourself some lunch or dinner, and you might just bump into a professional footballer or manager while you're there.
Yeah. Apparently, it's the place to go. Ibiza is the big one at the moment.
But yeah, just in regards before we leave the Liverpool transfer talk, and I know this was probably a site breaker, but we look like we're pretty certainly interested in Jude Bellingham. I agree with you. It looks like he's going to stay for another year. He is only, did he just turn 19? I think I saw today or yesterday.
Yeah, I think so.
He's still so young, so he has a lot of years. You know, obviously, knock on wood, he's injury free. But the general idea is that we are one of the clubs that are heavily interested in bringing him in for next season. Am I right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's more, he's indicated an interest in joining Liverpool as well, which I mean, I don't know whether that's from before, before he went to Dortmund, whether he'd always had a bit of a liking for Liverpool before he went there, or whether it's since being in Dortmund and because Klopp's still a hero there, he's still a
Yeah.
legend in. So whether he's picked up a bit of bit of a desperation to work and not desperation, a bit of a
Admiration.
admiration for and got the thought of because I'd like to work with Klopp after hearing this. I don't know because I don't know the lad well enough to know, but there is definitely interest from that's where it's coming from mostly because obviously the club I don't think the club would plan that far ahead. I think they just say if he's available we'll move for him but this summer but they wouldn't. They wouldn't really be planning a transfer that far ahead because anything could change. He could break his leg and have his career ended tomorrow.
Yeah. Do you think it also could come down to, I'm not there and I'm obviously not on international duty with England, but do you think it could come down to him looking like he has a really good relationship with Jordan Henderson and such in the national team?
Yeah, they do get on really well. But
he'd be a welcome addition, I'm pretty sure, and I know a lot of people would be thinking the same thing. But just before we leave the Liverpool chat, because we obviously don't want to make it just all about Liverpool. He looks like he could be a long-term target, someone that could. I don't know. Henderson's just turned 32.
Exactly.
Getting towards the twilight end. Getting towards the twilight end of his career. He could be that. Yeah, exactly right.
And
he looks like
he can play anywhere in midfield as well. He's not he can play defensively. He can play. He has done the defensive role. He has done an attacking role, and he has played in central midfield, various styles in various ways in midfield. He can play he could be anything he wants. That lad, he is that good.
Yeah, he could be
if he's got
a 6 or a 10. And we all know that Klopp likes a very versatile player. So it's look. I know it's early days. I know it's something that could potentially mean nothing, but it is the thought of the idea of having Bellingham at Liverpool is very exciting. So just on the exit of the Liverpool transfer talk, he's definitely someone I'd completely welcome if we signed him now, which looks very, very unlikely, or even next season or January or whatever the case is. He's definitely someone that I'd be very welcome to signing.
Yeah, Dortmund ain't going to sell him this summer.
And I'm guessing he'd go for a fair bit.
Oh, he'll cost a fortune because he'll excel again next season and put his price up again a bit more.
Yeah. And
they're hoping to challenge for the title this season. They actually think they're in with a chance this season, Dortmund. So they're definitely not going to.
Oh well, I hope for their sake and the sake of the Bundesliga. I'll just pick up. I hope that there's a new. I don't know what the hiccups. Hopefully, there's a new challenger on the horizon, and someone can, push Bayern Munich for that title that they seem to win every season.
Yeah, they do. They've won that more often than PSG or Juventus have managed in.
Or Celtic.
Yeah, none of them can match Bayern's. Isn't it like 10 in a row now?
Yep.
Probably more.
I think it's 10 in a row.
No, I think it was 10 in a row this year. Yeah. Any other transfers you want to talk about, Deeps?
Yeah, I was just going to touch up with Deeps on Manchester.
Don't be touching him up, for God's sake. You'll be getting us into trouble.
Pardon. I can't stop hiccuping. Just want to touch on
before we move on, one name you guys like Liverpool could look to bring in this season in midfield is Fabian Ruiz. He's a good player. He's a good player. He's versatile, and with only 1 year remaining on his deal, he shouldn't be that he shouldn't be that expensive with just 1 year left on his deal.
Yeah, I can see it. I'm sure Klopp's been interested in him before, but yeah, I can see that one. The other one I'd be interested in, that Mateus. Is it Nunes? Oh, the Portuguese lad. Well, plays in
Yeah.
Portugal. Yeah, he's not actually Portuguese, is he? Isn't he Brazil? No.
He's a very new Portuguese
Yeah.
guy. He was Brazilian a year
Yeah,
or
now
so
he's
ago.
now he's Portuguese. That's right. But yeah, he's quite an interesting player as well because he can play defensive midfielder. See, this is the key for Liverpool. They need someone to cover for Fabinho, or you say into Henderson, you're the cover for Fabinho, which is difficult because they do often seem to be injured at the same time. So you really don't want one covering for the other, in my opinion. You know, you want someone to cover for them rather than them being the cover for each other. But
You
yeah.
could have Matip be the cover for Fabinho.
Thank you.
No, God no. I'd rather him in midfield
In
than
regard-
defence, but I'd rather him on the bench than in midfield. Let's be honest. We've got to, you know, we're all. I wouldn't. No. He's lost what he had. You know, he's not as mobile as he was since he got injured. And he really looked to me worryingly bad at times. And I know he's on
Especially
the ball. He makes
ball
up
over
for
the
it.
top.
Yeah, but on the ball he's really good. But defensively he just seems to have no reading in the game, and he gets caught out constantly ball watching and stuff. And that's even more of a no-no when you're in defensive midfield, because you have to be on. You know, you have to be constantly on the lookout for it, because you have to be up and down, up and down. Whereas when you're at the back, you know, you're already there, so you don't have to chase back. You know what I mean? You don't have to be on the move early. So weird.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean, you can get away with it a little bit more getting caught ball watching. Usually, because you usually give yourself a yard or two start on a forward. You're not normally, you know, you don't normally let them get right on top of you. So anyway, yeah. Whereas when you're defensive midfield, you're behind them, so you have to be chasing back. So you know, you have to be reading it first, so you're on the move before them to get in front of them. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, that wouldn't be for me. Anyway, is there any more transfers you want to talk about, either of you?
Yeah, the general,
Richarlison.
Yes, good one. Just
Richarlison to Spurs. I asked it last week as well. Why? Why?
Yeah, I don't
What's
get
the
it.
point?
Where does he play?
he's not going to start.
Well, he's very good on the ground, so maybe he is the Loris replacement.
Yeah, he can dive around everywhere. Didn't somebody say that last week? Wasn't that Rob that said that?
Was it me or not? Yes, it
Oh, it
was.
might have been you. Yeah,
I'm
it
gonna-
was you on the
Yeah,
well, it was
I'm
on
gonna
Discord,
steal
wasn't it?
this
It was on
Yeah, I'm gonna
Discord,
steal
wasn't
this
it?
joke again and again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bad joke, but if you keep using it, someone might laugh. Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't matter whether it's a pity laugh or it's a haha funny laugh. A laugh is a laugh.
Yeah, you'll take it, whatever it is. It's a bit like sex for you, Deeks. You don't care if it's a pity shag, you'll take it.
Deeps, I want to touch up with you on the
Oh God, here we go again.
Man
He's
United.
picking you up again.
not physically touching up,
He
just
can't, can he?
Communication touching up with Man United and the transfers. I know you know, if we disregard the Frankie De Jong and all the talk, it seems like you've got a new left back coming in.
Yeah.
I just want to know your thoughts on that, and also what you. I know if I give you the general question of what you think Man United need, I know you're going to say probably a whole new starting 11 bar one or two. Pardon me, I've got the hiccups and I can't control it. It's really bad. I can't stop.
Somebody needs to show you a jump scare of some sort.
Someone needs to jump scare me, or I need to drink about half a pint of water
Don't worry,
Um,
when the missus
so-
wakes up and jumps up behind, sneaks up behind you, you'll soon stop hiccuping.
So you got it looks like you've got a new left back coming in. If we disregard the Young talk for a fucking hell. If we disregard the Young talk for a second, who else do you guys link to, and who would you like to see being brought in?
Which one of you is the guy with hiccups? I think
Sorry,
I hear
taking
both
a
of you
piss.
now.
No, I was just taking the piss because you stopped for a second. So I just thought I'd fill in. If he's not fucking snoring, he's
the guy we linked with now, the two significant links are Lisandro Martinez and Anthony Boss from Ajax. But I
Yep.
don't know whether it's lazy journalism or it's like genuinely us trying to buy them. Having interest and having genuine talks about transfers are a bit different from
What
what I
about-
understand.
Come on, what about the Maguire story to Barcelona?
I think it was someone taking the piss. Someone was
Yeah.
taking the piss.
Clearly.
But having said that, I think there are only 3 clubs that are stupid enough to consider Maguire. Everton, Barcelona, and the third is a stretch, maybe Newcastle. Like I think, genuinely, I think us, Everton, and Barcelona, we are the 3 most
Yeah.
financially stupid clubs right now.
I
Or
don't
in
know.
the past 3, 4, 5 years.
I don't
Like
know,
financially, we 3 are the worst.
Chelsea and Arsenal are doing all right this season. Last few
No,
seasons,
Arsenal are a stupid team. Arsenal are a stupid team. It doesn't have to be financially. They're just a
Yeah.
stupidly run club.
Yeah, they've lost their way since Wenger's gone. And Chelsea just their transfer policy seems to have just fallen apart in recent years. I don't know what's going on there. You knew that if Chelsea were interested in someone, he was going to be good for them. But now, you just look at their signings and you think, what are they doing? But yeah, anyway, sorry, Man United. Carry on. Sorry, Deeps.
Yeah, Lisandro Martinez and Anthony. I think we need a centre back. Lisandro Martinez is a centre back. We need players in attack, but I'm not quite sure Anthony is the guy. It's not a knock on him. I think he may be very good, but he's 22 right now. So I think we need someone who is, in theory, gonna be much more ready to make an impact from the get-go.
So what's he, a replacement for Sancho?
Yeah, most likely.
Well,
You'd have to think so because we signed him. We signed Sancho to be our right-sided attacker, and now he's gonna be replaced with someone else.
It's bizarre.
In reality, Anthony is the replacement for he who shall not be named.
Yeah, whose spell was extended this week. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah, but I think we need more of a striker type of player. I don't know much about Anthony. That's the issue. Whether he's
Speaking of
someone
those who should not be named, so to speak, what's happening with Gylfi Sigurdsson? Is he still contracted to Everton?
no,
I think
didn't he
his
get
contract
released?
runs out today. I think his contract runs out today.
That's what I was thinking, isn't it? Up now. So what will happen with him? Just having a look.
Was he convicted?
No, but he admitted guilt. He said he did it. He just didn't know how old she was. Yeah, his contract expires today. So he did say. The issue wasn't whether he was guilty or not. The issue was whether he knew he'd done it. Whether he knew her age or not.
So will he, as a free agent, when he enters free agency, which is today or tomorrow, whatever the case is?
Tomorrow, yeah.
Will he struggle?
Not today now.
Yeah. Will he struggle? will he struggle to find a club
Yes.
inside of Europe? Is he restricted to only a certain amount of countries or things like that?
He might. I'm not even sure what. It can't even leave the country at the moment. I'm not even sure he can leave the country, so he might not be able to get a team at all. I really don't know what'll happen with him. A bit like Greenwood, I think they're kind of, even if
In
Greenwood's
limbo.
free and available, what do they do? While they're waiting for it all to take place, they're kind of stuck, aren't they? It's like, I don't know, it's right though, because you can't have them playing. Would you sign him for your team?
No, no way.
But then plenty of others similar done committed similar crimes have managed to get teams and that. People who, I don't know. It's one of those where you just.
What do you
I wouldn't
think,
want
Deeps,
to
what do you
advise
make
him.
of all the talks of Christian Eriksen being brought to the club?
Yeah.
I don't see much point in it. I just don't see the point in the transfer from any side, from us, from him. I don't see the point because whatever our opinion of Bruno is, he's gonna be the guy that's gonna be first choice as a number 10 in whatever way Ten Hag
Yeah.
likes to set his team. He's gonna be the guy. So is
Yeah, but
Eriksen gonna be happy being the backup?
Ericsson at Ajax and
Ten
what was he
Hag.
before? Hmm.
So Eriksen,
Yeah, before he went to Ajax as well, he didn't play central midfield rather than attacking midfield anyway. He played the kind of like the Liverpool, right?
yeah, but
the
yeah, I know the role. I know the roles are a bit different, and it's not exactly the same connection. But would you right now consider Fabinho as a right back
no,
when you're signing?
I'm just saying like maybe that's the thing is because he didn't really play an attacker midfield role at Brentford, did he? Not that I saw.
Yeah, but he's not. But he's not your true central midfielder either.
No, but Ten Hag might want to play with that type of midfield, is what I'm saying. Maybe
Yeah,
that's
but then on paper, Frankie De Jong, if it were to happen, like that seems to be his ideal choice for Ten Hag. So Frankie De Jong, Eriksen, and Bruno. There is not enough defensive action there.
no. I can see
Who's
what
gonna?
you're saying. I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah, but my point is, I don't see the point.
I'm
Any
just
which way.
saying
He would
maybe
be more.
Ten Hag sees him differently.
Yeah. Yeah, then maybe he needs to get his eyes checked.
Yeah, I'm just saying I could see
Maybe,
what
maybe we
for
should
me
look
if I'm Ericsson, I'm playing for Brentford next season, and I don't even see why there's even a conversation to be had about going to another side. Without them, he wouldn't be back in football at the top end. They were the ones that gave him an opportunity. They were the ones that gave him a chance. What more does he need to achieve in his career other than
And
just play?
they're based in London, a city where he has
Yeah,
lived for almost what seems like almost gonna be a decade now.
certainly been a while. But like, you just look at it and you think, this is it. What more do you need?
Yeah, all things considered, he's gonna be their star player, or
Yeah,
at least the center of the team.
and they'll make sure that he has, that like everything is built to give him the best chance to succeed. Because they'll go out of their way. If there's any more issues with his health and that, they'll make sure they look after him. Whereas if he goes to someone like Man United, he's just another player. He's
Yeah, he's just gonna be another name.
he's not even going to be a big name to them. I don't know. He's the start. You've got Ronaldo. You've got Bruno. You've got Sancho was bought for 80 million. You know what I mean? You're like, who are you, Ericsson? You're a free transfer from Brentford. Who's I just don't. It doesn't. I agree with you. I don't think it makes sense for him. I can't even understand why he's even having to think about it. He should have committed to Brentford the moment he could. You know, the moment they said we've got an offer for you, he should have said, yeah, I'll sign that, thanks. For me, I think sometimes players just a bit ungrateful. They've gone out of their way to make him welcome, to bring him back into the game, and he's looking elsewhere.
And we need a DM. We still need a defensive midfielder.
Hmm. Yeah, you don't really need him, so why sign him? Well, I mean, you could do with anything, but like, he's not your top priority, is what I should be saying.
He's not even in our top 10 priority. That's the thing. Like, we still have Donny. We don't know how he's gonna fare, but I'd rather see him get the minutes than take a gamble on Ericsson.
Yeah, exactly. Why sign a player to play a position that you've already got? That you've got a player who needs a chance, really. But yeah, I just can't understand Ericsson's thinking why he's having to consider all these offers. I just don't get it. If you're in, and for me anyway, I would say, yeah, you just thank you very much, Brentford. I'm happy. We had a great time there last season. Why look anywhere
And they
else?
have the Danish connection as well.
Hmm. Yeah,
Many things.
the
Many things.
manager's gone out of his way for him. They've given him a chance. I just don't understand it. There's not a chance in hell Man United would have looked at him otherwise, or any of these other Premier League teams and that. They're looking at him because Brentford gave him the chance. Why would you? I don't understand it. At this point in his career, Man United aren't going to build a team to win the league. Yeah, the chances of them winning the cup are relatively low as well. You know, they're not. You know, he's not going there to win trophies, is he? Really, right now, they're not in that position. They're in the middle of a rebuild. Well, they're about to start a rebuild, I should say. Really, they're probably 2 or 3 years away from really being in a position where you could expect them to win trophies. So what's he got to move for? I don't understand it. You've all gone quiet.
So it's a no.
Oh.
So it's a no-go from all of us, I guess.
Yeah, it just seems a strange move, that one.
So just remember when you wake up tomorrow morning that the biggest news is gonna be he chooses to sign for United.
Yeah, yeah, that'll be the new.
That's
He's holding up a
what
Man
he
United shirt in the, in the thing.
Yeah, he's the replacement for Jesse Lingard and Juan Mata combined.
Yeah, Jesse Lingard might stay. That could be the other big news as well.
What? No, he's not gonna stay for sure.
Well, that's interesting. Chelsea are launching an external investigation. I mean, into bullying claims, not an internal one. Not under previous ownership. That's an interesting one. That is.
Oh, bloody hell,
Has he fallen
Robin.
asleep again? Has he fallen asleep again?
Yep. I was wondering why he's so quiet.
Fuck's sake. God, that's because we were talking, Deeks. You're obviously boring, mate.
No, he asked me a question,
And
and before I could finish my answer, he's fucking asleep.
Christ, you are that boring, Deeks. Really, let's be honest. You must be. You put him to sleep. Bless him. But I just thought that was interesting about Chelsea going into looking into allegations of bullying, but it's the appointing an external team rather than an internal one. That's very unusual, isn't it?
That's something new, but maybe that is indicating something as well.
Well, it's a New York Times article. They said that conditions in one department led to a toxic workplace culture, and a former employee took his life in January. And the coroner's report linked it to despair following the loss of his job. That fucking hell, this snorer. Somebody poke it. Where's his? Have we got his? I'm gonna have to get the number off for his missus, so I can just message her and say poke him for fuck's sake and wake him up.
No, maybe a
I
call
can't
was
believe
gonna
he's
wake
done
you
it
up.
again. We're gonna have to do this to a soundtrack of scoring every week. That's all it is. So yeah, so we move on anyway. So I think we've done the transfers, haven't we? Pretty much. Can't think of anyone else. Can you? No, Rob's got none, unless it's. So, should we move on to the Derby County stuff, because there's a bit to talk about here. You know, Wayne Rooney quitting after, because
No,
thrown his,
that's just part of the story. Him quitting is just part of the story.
just part of it, yeah. Not the start of it, it's just part of it, really. Because it's all related. Because the FA are now looking into a loan made by his agent's company to Derby County, because last month Quantum couldn't pay the wage bill, and Chris Kirkner was supposed to supply him the money, but of course he didn't have any, and so Quantum had to look elsewhere for the money, and Wayne Rooney's agent loaned him the money to pay the wages, which obviously causes a few issues because they're not allowed to, agents aren't allowed to own football clubs and that, right? So yeah, he cleared off their wage bill. Yeah, but like it just shows that because Rooney had said, had backed Kirkner, so obviously his agent's obviously backing Rooney, given his backing to Rooney, and given this loan, and then we all, obviously we all knew that Kirkner was a chancer anyway. Been saying it for weeks, and Preston North. Oh, oh my God. Yeah, I just. Should we just move on to the final one? Because I can't do this without laughing too much. So I just think we're not gonna
So
we're
just to
not
sum
gonna
up
do
the
it
Derby.
justice. I
Okay, so
forgot.
just to sum up the Derby situation to anyone who cares to listen, Rooney's agent was loaning the prospective new owner money to pay the players' wages. The prospective owner is the same guy that was at Preston North End that found his documents about all his wealth and his ability to finance the club as unreliable. So the question is, how can the whole process be going down that far down
Yeah,
the road when another team in a similar position found it to not be worthy enough?
exactly. They looked at it and said, Preston said, like, he's got no money, this guy. There's no way he can't show that he's got the funds to buy us. And they're cheaper than Derby. There was a lot less money needed for them. So if they can say he's got no money, did you hear his excuse for why he couldn't get the funds over? Because he said that his original thing was, he said, oh, it's too difficult getting the money over, that's why I'm going to pull out. But now he's made a new excuse. He said, oh no, I had to pull out because my company's in the middle of a takeover. Somebody's buying it off, buying it, and the directors of my company said it was causing too many problems when we messed around with Derby, so I had to pull out of a bid for them, and I had to stop it. Like, well, why don't you just admit you had no fucking money and you couldn't afford it, and you were just trying to get your name in the papers. Let's be honest. He probably didn't even think they'd get that far, and it was a shock to him, and he's suddenly trying to pretend, trying to think of excuses all the time. Clearly, but it's no wonder Rooney quit. He must be embarrassed at how much he put, how much backing he'd given to Kirkner when it was clear he had no money. Then he probably fed him all sorts of lines about giving him money to spend and that, hadn't he? So, but anyway, I think we should move on to the final item now, and the best bit of news I can think of for years in the Premier League, in my opinion. I don't know about you.
Your favorite Mike Riley, the head of
Yeah,
PGMOL, is finally retiring. Is that the correct term?
yeah, he's gone. Well, he's quitting, stepping down. So, what a shame. I've got to say, he said it's the right time for him to step down, but I think it was probably years too late for my opinion. But I just loved what the FA chief executive said about Mark Bullingham. I mean, he was trying to pay him a compliment. Obviously, when they go, they have people always give compliments. What he said was, Mike Riley has played a crucial role in the development of refereeing over recent years, both as an elite referee and during his tenure at PGMOL, which, considering how bad the refereeing standard has become in the last few years, I don't think it's much of a compliment, is it? Or maybe
Not to anyone who has watched the level of refereeing in the Premier League under his guidance and his whole excuses.
yeah.
So many of them.
Oh, the constant trotting out of lines. They make up stories to cover up every time there's a mistake. That's the thing that most annoyed me about him. Rather than just saying, I got it wrong there, the referee made a mistake. It happens, he's human. We're not perfect. That's all they have to say is, we're sorry, hold our hands up, yeah, we've looked at it again and we realised, out of the heat of the, when you're in the heat of the moment, you make a decision, you don't always get it right. It's the way it is. That's all they have to say, isn't it? Instead, they come up with all these excuses. No, this is the rules have changed, and we've got this interpretation now. That's what they come out with, and it's like, no, that's just bollocks. Stop lying. Just admit you made a mistake. All you have to say. Well, they don't do that, do they? Sad, really. Would anyone complain?
It's easier. It's easier. Surely it's easier to say we made a mistake here than to come out with such ridiculous excuses and justifications for all the decisions and non-decisions.
Yeah, I mean, it makes no sense. I mean, nobody can complain if they come out and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, we got that wrong." Nobody minds that. I know we've seen that all down the years. When a referee comes out and says that, people are like, "Oh, well, okay," and that's it. There's no backlash to them. So, but when they come out and make up these stupid excuses and cover up, it just sounds. People start getting arsey because they don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear excuses. He's just. I think he's the worst thing that's happened to referees in this country.
Is his replacement been confirmed? Or?
No, not yet. I'm still waiting to hear which of the. It's bound to be one of those that retired this year, though, isn't it? It's bound to be one of those useless ones. Yeah. Probably John Moss, because he's too fat to run. That one. But
John Moss is so fat that he can't even run the PGMOL.
I was just thinking that he might struggle because he's got to run the PGMOL well. I was thinking along the lines that there must be a gag in there somewhere.
and before anybody gets their feelings hurt, I'm fat, so I'm allowed to body shame someone else, I think.
Deeps is allowed to fat shame because he's fatter than John Moss.
By quite some distance as well.
To be fair though, you're not expected to run around for 90 minutes, are you, each week? So I'm not
even trusted to run this podcast. That's how fat I am.
For good reason, mate. For good reason. It's worrying, isn't it?
We've reached the end. We've reached the end. A few 2 minutes too late for Rob's sake.
One more thing. It could be worse. It could be Mike Dean.
I think it will be Mike Dean.
My God.
Because he has a reputation of. He has the popularity. He just looks like that.
He's a second peacock, isn't he? Of a man. To be honest, I heard him on a podcast. I can't remember which one it was. I can't remember who it was. It was podcast
Was it Ben Foster?
couple of years ago. No, it wasn't. It was
Oh,
someone. It was a
years ago.
comedian. It was comedian did a podcast with him. Someone like Rob. I can't remember. It was. He's a comedian anyway. It was does a football podcast, and he's. Oh no, it's that the guy he's a Plymouth supporter. That's it. And he's clueless about football, really is. But they had him on anyway, and he talked about when he was a chicken. He plucked chickens or something, or killed chickens or something for a while. Worked in a chicken factory anyway, and he was talking about that, and I thought he actually came across really well on that. Came across as actually a nice bloke and funny and that. I thought a bit of charisma and that. I'm thinking it's totally different from the guy you see on the pitch all the time. I thought he should have done a lot more of that a lot sooner, to be honest, because he might have had a totally different image and a lot more respect if he'd done stuff like that more often.
I'm still trying to find out which
what's his name?
podcast you're referring to.
Josh something or other his name is. Josh.
Not Travis Scott. No.
Comedian. Try Widdicombe. Josh Widdicombe. That's it. I can't remember who he does it with, but it's a podcast he does, and I can't remember what his name is. What's it called? But it's not. I've stopped listening to it. It's not really. It's all right. Like it's not. I can't remember what it was called. But yeah, anyway, he did a football one, but it was like, it was. They don't really talk about football because they've got not much clue about football. Stephen Vegas put it up on the bloody YouTube thing. I only had to look on there rather than Google it. But yeah, he did a podcast for a while. I don't know if he's still going. I got bored of listening to it, to be honest. But he had some interesting things on there, like and that was one of them. Wasn't really very footballish because they don't really know anything about football. He admits that he's completely ignorant of Premier League stuff, and that's how I used to get so frustrated listening to it because they just talk and you'd be thinking, oh God, they got that so much wrong, and it was so frustrating to listen to. But yeah, that one was quite an interesting one. I actually thought Mike Dean came across really well, but still, he is an arrogant, strutting peacock on the pitch, given the power. And it seems to go to his head. I don't know if I'd want him in charge of the BGMOL, but I think you're right. I think he'll be the one that will get it.
Yeah, and then finally we can say that Tottenham are getting favors from FA. There is a clip of him allegedly celebrating Tottenham, one of Tottenham's goals.
Well, to be fair, Tottenham have always got the benefit from the FA. Have always favoured them. That's why. Do you remember John Scales leaving Liverpool to sign for Tottenham, and he said it was the only way to get in the England team. So it didn't matter how well I played while I was at Liverpool. Unless if I wanted to get in the England team, I needed to move to Spurs. And he actually said that publicly. Oh. But I mean, they've changed the rules for Spurs so many times. I don't know why. Yeah, anyway.
Since we're talking about Spurs, are you aware that there is a genuine, genuine outcry of Tottenham? They're going to win the league next season. They're going to challenge for the league next season. What do you make of that?
Well, they've got Conte, who's a winner, and he's done it before in the Premier League, but...
Yeah, but they've also got Harry Kane, who's not a winner. And he's proven to be in success and failure, to quote from Jose Mourinho.
Yeah, and the team itself, Tottenham itself, they just seem to specialise. They've lost their way. They've fallen a long way from the days of glory Tottenham Hotspur, like in the 70s, early 70s when they were, in 60s, when they were a great team. I don't know. I can't if anyone could drag them to a title, it'd be Antonio Conte, because it would be dragging them. But do I think they will? No. It just seems unlikely, doesn't it, at best?
But
No.
surely Liverpool and City are still much
Yeah.
ahead.
That's the issue, isn't it? It's like, if it was...
If it was Chelsea, for example, say he was again coming back as Chelsea manager, I could see it happening much more than with him as
Yeah,
Tottenham manager. Having said that, Tottenham's attack might just be able to guide them to at least being an outsider.
yeah, it is. Conte is just one of those people who can seem to win things when he hasn't really. They don't play that well, and they don't look that good, and they don't play good football, but they still seem to, his teams still seem to win things, So, no, you just look at their squad though, and it does look like it's missing a few pieces, doesn't it? Still.
Yeah, they still need, I'd say, at least 3 more better
But,
quality players.
well, they look like they're. Oh, who did I see do? Longley from
Yes,
Barcelona,
from
which I
Mbappe.
don't understand. Or Loan, sorry, Loanin, I think actually, isn't it? Which I don't understand because I'm not a big fan of him. Don't think he's that good. Lacks
Well,
mobility as well.
he looked he looked good when he was at Sevilla.
Mm.
So maybe there is some player there.
I don't know. I've never been. I can't remember him at Sevilla. I've only remember him at Barcelona, and I've always thought he looks lost. Doesn't look good enough on the ball. Doesn't look good enough defensively.
He looks confused actually.
Yeah.
The thing is, he looks confused,
Yeah.
and he doesn't have the pace to make up for it.
No, he's very slow, isn't he? He's got no mobility, and that's what might catch him out in the Premier League, because it's very much, it's very pacey and direct. I just think it's a bit of a big. They've got a good defender in. Is it Romero? I'm thinking of.
Yeah, Christian Romero.
That's it. They've got a good defender in him, but the rest. I can see why they want to buy a defender, but bring in a defender even, because he's loaning him. Sorry, but I just don't see him as the answer. See again, Skriniar. Why not throw your hat in the ring for him?
Nathan Collins, why not?
Yeah, again another one. Nathan Collins. There's options out there. Just go for
Harry Maguire. Even Harry Maguire is available,
it.
and he's
Yeah,
80 million pounds.
yeah, he's probably worth about 80 pence, but.
But he's worth about 80 million, maybe
Yeah.
pesos.
I'm not even sure if Filipino pesos would be worth that, mate. In reality, I think you might have overpaid by about 85 million quid. How much did you pay for him in the end?
I think it was something around 78 million plus
Yeah,
5
17.
or something.
Yeah, so you probably
5 or
okay.
something was an add-on.
Okay, so you probably overpaid by about 100 million then.
I don't know if I can even argue with that.
No, you can't. Let's be honest. Oh, he's mad. So, Rob's gone quiet. What's worrying? I think he's still asleep. Just stopped snoring, or
Maybe he stopped snoring. Or maybe he's just too embarrassed to chime in now.
I don't know. That's what I was wondering. Because last time it didn't bother him. He just still chimed in at the end. Remember? And he woke up. That's what I was wondering. Is he going to say goodbye or not? No.
So anyways, we can say goodbye from Rob as well to everyone.
Yeah. Good night, everyone, and see you next Thursday.
Yeah, see you next Thursday. Bye bye.